Warning. The following show features reviews from wildly unprofessional critics operating without the supervision of professionals. The thoughts and opinions held by these individuals are not to be taken seriously and do not come from a place of intellectual integrity. This show doesn't reflect the opinions of Criticless or its users. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's up? What is up, everybody? Hello and welcome to another episode of Criticless Cast Unhinged. We're back and unhinged per usual, and very, very late because I take my sweet ass time when I come over here. But today we are going to be talking about the cult classic SLC Punk. Now, we have been doing this series that's this critic hated audience love series, and that this movie doesn't quite fall into that category, but it's close enough. It doesn't have nearly high enough of a score as it should on the site that must not be named. So it was just one of these that I wanted to call attention to, a childhood favorite, if you will, or at least a high school favorite. And I knew that there's a lot of folks that hadn't seen it. So today we are going to be talking about SLC Punk. But before we get into that and everything else that we're doing, I need to introduce the usual Spud Specs, Mr. Christopher Cowells.
Hola.
And Mr. Matt Verlack.
What's up, everybody?
And it is going to be business as usual. If you are new to the show, we have multiple segments within this first hour that we cover surrounding everything in culture and what's happening in the entertainment industry and just all sorts of shenanigans wherever we decide to kind of meander into in our little segments, whether it be news and things that are streaming. So we're going to do that, and then we'll move into our review, which is spoiler free in the beginning and then spoilery after that. But this is an older movie, so we don't handle these episodes quite the same as if it's a brand new film. So, but with this one, since a lot of people haven't seen it, we will be a bit more careful. But first off, guys, how are y'all doing? Y'all doing all right?
I'm surviving. Work has been a slog.
Yeah, you see a little sleepy, a little worn out.
Yeah, we're 16 hours on Tuesday, so a little double, I guess.
Yeah,
in government.
That's why. Yeah. Right.
So you're not
whatever
paid
that
for
means.
it is what you mean.
Nothing.
That's
right.
No, exactly. Yeah, I get 0 overtime. Thanks.
Right. They're just like, hey, thank you for working 16 hours.
Yeah.
They even thanked you.
Right.
Oh God.
But it's just part of your job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yeah, get bent,
Yeah.
and
pretty
hope
much.
you hate your life.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But I can't complain. It's fine. How about you, Matt?
Well, I mean, you could complain.
I just did.
But-
Or as the
It
old
is
folks,
what-
but nobody'd listen. If I complain, then nobody listening.
So I complain anyways, and then say, oh, nobody listens.
Yeah,
Double
exactly.
pity. Double pity.
Because that's exactly what the old people do. Is they
Yep.
say that and then they follow it right up with an endless stream of complaints. They're like,
And
nobody
they
will
do it
listen
to
except for
everybody.
you. I got
But-
you held hostage, you dumbass.
Right. And you can't be in the South. You can't be rude and be like, I'm leaving.
Right.
Maybe you can do that elsewhere. But here you have to sit down and go, oh,
Mhm.
that's
Mm.
terrible. Oh, I'm sorry. That's
Bless your heart.
Ooh, that's right. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah,
Bless
buddy.
your heart. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Around these parts. That is, if you're in the South and you don't know this, if someone says bless your heart to you, it's an insult. That's not, they're not saying it in good faith there. They're insulting you very nicely, which is how we do things in the South. We might insult you, but it's going to be with kindness.
We're nice about everything.
Oh, yeah.
Even our insults.
Exactly.
We'll punch you in the nicest way possible.
That's exactly
Yep.
right. And I haven't said hello to the chat yet, but what's up, chat? Hello, everybody that's in there. We got Chris Horde, right? What's up? And JJ Happenstance. What is up, homie? Nice to have you in here. Caveat Ties, also known as Cave Titties. He's in here. What's up, homie? And Miss Criticless, the wife. How you doing? And
What's up, Sid?
Yeah, that's what's active at least right now. I know we got more y'all in there than that, but so hello everyone. How are y'all doing? I hope that everyone else's week is maybe a little less chaotic. Mine, per usual, has been quite chaotic, and I posted in Criticless Cast if you want to go in there and see some of the things that are going on. We have moved some stuff with our office, and so I'll be streaming from home when I stream on other shows and things like that. So that has been restructured, and I think it's actually pretty cool and comfy now.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, it's basically we moved our other office just kind of over to there. It's got the couch and the TV, so it's just kind of a whole quartered off space of
nice
the Criticless stuff.
You've got that interior decorating touch. You know, a little bit of the ism. And it's good. I appreciate it. I love it. I'll have you come over to my house and because it's like the most single man bachelor pad.
It is a bachelor.
It's gray. There's one picture, nothing anywhere.
Yeah, and I think somebody forced you to put that picture up. Right. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was like my grandmother's, and she passed away, so I wanted to pay her tribute to her. So
yeah, perfect. Yeah. And then there's just like the empty room where.
Oh, yeah, that's where I keep all my kayaks and my mountain bikes
and all the dead bodies.
Boxes, lots of boxes.
Why do you have so many boxes?
Because can't just throw them out. Well, I use my box. Okay. So I for my mouse, like whenever I have beside my chair for working at home, I just have a moving box that I use my mouse on.
As one does with their single.
Use a moving box for your mouse.
Yeah, that's like my stand. That's where I keep my cup and so I can swap it every once in a while because it gets floppy. You know. As one does as you age.
Look,
it cost me like 50 cents, and I'm gonna keep on using it until it completely folds in. Yeah.
Tales of the man who's not homeless but likes to pretend like he is.
Look, my house is paid off. I got plenty of money.
But you have a mouse box.
But I'm not gonna spend it on a fucking a table,
a desk, some would call it.
Ridiculous. I have a box. Thank you.
Right. That's just egregious spending right there.
Yeah.
So totally understand. It makes everything you do make sense, Chris. It makes complete and total sense. So no need to
frugal sense.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Y'all are really good enablers. I love it. Hey, I don't want to change.
Yeah. I mean, we're just gonna keep supporting you regardless. You know, just burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
We're just envious that we can't live like hobos.
Right. The hobo life seems so nice.
Okay. Speaking of burning to the ground. I had to call because I paid off my house. I had to call my insurance company and be like, hey, send the shit to me instead of my mortgage company. And they were like, oh, I see that you have, we normally like to have people have, at least 50% of the value of your home. You're at 10%. I'm like, well, that's fine. I don't need as many anymore. It's like, it covers $30,000. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I've got money in the bank. It's okay. I don't want to pay y'all anymore because I'm never going to use it. If I could pay zero for insurance, if I could not have insurance,
you can get rid of insurance. You only have insurance.
No.
Why not?
HOA.
HOA.
Satan.
That's why you live out in the sticks, and then you can really live like a homeless person.
I want to get away from this communist party that is holding my house captive.
Captive, yeah. That totally makes sense. And we've got more people coming into the chat, guys. What's going on? We got Wasp up in here. How you doing? And anybody else I'm missing that's popping in here that's saying hi, but hey guys, what's going on? And I think that it is time, Matt. I
boom it up.
I think that it's time for Culture for Boomers. Ooh. This is the point where we put on the headphones and our ears get really hot and all of us complain. But I have some stuff teed up for us today. Some fun things. If I don't die in the middle of this stream.
How long is she coming?
Oh goodness. So I was doing some searching and I feel like this hit my algorithm because it's like Chris's dream car. And I think that this is what we should start things off with, Chris, is it seems to be that someone has actually built a car made specifically for you.
I think we just say dumb ideas and eventually some of them hit. I was saying I wanted to get a drift car and Mike does drifting. So he was saying he could build me one. So I was like, we should just make the gayest possible drift car of all time. I'm not too familiar with the car world, but I know if you're in the car community.
By the way, if y'all don't know, I do also want to, it's Pride Month, we just need to support. This is very on brand.
Sure.
And obviously that's why this is being discussed, not because it's a vehicle that Chris would drive.
And then the Mazda Miata is hands down the gayest car that you could possibly acquire or purchase or find on Marketplace. We got a Miata. Mike built it up. I helped design it, so I haven't seen it in person. I'm excited. I know this thing's gonna turn some heads. Oh man, that's unreal, dude. It's gay. Hey, it's gayer than I could imagine, dude. It even says gay right here. Look, and it's a spinner, dude. This is brakes. That's a handbrake.
Did y'all read this out? By the way, it says I'm so gay I can't even drive straight.
That is amazing.
It's literally the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Oh fuck! Pink slips, baby. No one's beating me. The Miata community.
So, Chris, are you gonna put in bids for buying this when it goes up for sale?
I mean, honestly, dude, okay. Fun story from when I was a children's. I honestly loved the Miata. Whenever I was like
that makes sense.
up until 12, I was like, dude, the Miata is the coolest vehicle ever.
So manly.
Until, well, manly wasn't about it. It was just like cool. Because I was not a man at that point. I was a children. But then I discovered like the Mitsubishi 3000 GT.
Ooh, yeah.
Which they need to bring it back, make it real dope as fuck. I'd buy that.
Actually, a better similar one as well is the Honda S2000.
Yeah,
it's kind of similar, but like less gay.
Well, yeah, because it's a Honda,
right? Obviously.
Yeah. So I agree.
Yeah, those were pretty cool as well, though, and I don't know that they make those anymore either.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think they stopped all those.
I am not a car person, so I am kind of on par with this person in this video. But I will say, speaking of Miatas, always make me.
Sorry, Caveat Taz just left a comment. Matt, I'll let you read that.
If the change a car from auto to manual, does that make it a tranny?
If they change a car from auto to manual, yeah, that's a good question. If they do that, does it make it a tranny? I think it does.
So. I think so.
I don't think we use that term anymore. Caveat.
Offended.
I mean, I think don't car people call like transmissions
tranny?
Tranny?
Yes, they absolutely do. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. He was talking about transmission,
the tranny,
obviously.
The transmission. Yes.
Which I'm sure was part of the pun. He's our pun master.
God,
sure.
he is like so one
funny.
Step above Matt, which is hard to do.
Yeah,
but
impressive. It is. And he really loves a good pun.
Yeah.
So I've got two more things here. Well, I've got more than that, but so we were talking about AI getting out of control and how we should probably be worried and fear for the end of humanity as we know it because of all of the AI approaching and all of the really cool things that they are going to be able to do with AI that are also scary as far as video goes. And this one really made me chuckle.
Yo, Chad, it's your boy, John Wilkes Booth. Got a little mission tonight, about to sneak into Ford's Theater and crash out. Sheet's about to go historically viral. Trust. All right, Gooners, we're inside now. I'm about to put this guy on a t-shirt. Mission is a go. Chat, we did it. Mission complete. Rolled my ankle on the jump, but totally worth it. Drop a W Booth in the chat.
W Booth.
It's so good. Like
that is good.
The stuff that these people can do is outrageous.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw one earlier today that was also really funny. It was like the Justice League, but if it was set in the office.
Oh, okay, nice.
And so Superman was Michael Scott. And it was just really
amazing
because it was just ridiculous.
Right. And that's the thing is, right, we're at this point where somebody just types this stuff into a prompt and it's like, this is exactly what I want to see. And then it's turned into a freaking little mini movie.
I haven't messed with it at all, but I wonder how specific do you have to be? So like for the one I was watching, it was, I don't know, like 20 scenes or something. Like, it kept jumping.
Yeah.
And for like that one we just watched, that's at least 4 scenes.
Right.
You think like each scene they have to script out and be like, hey, I want to see John Wilkes Booth walking down the street saying this.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that he tells it exactly what to say as far as the appearance and stuff. And I've seen ones that look better than others. So it's clear because like sometimes I've seen where they can't quite replicate the same face again or, just
hands always fuck up AI.
I think they've gotten a little bit better with hands though.
They have gotten better, but it's still not perfect. I mean, it's just like regular art, right? Because I feel like that's something.
Hands were always hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not an artist by any means, But I've heard that artists have difficulty with like drawing hands.
It's true.
Well,
I've heard it. I have my mouse set on a hyper sensitivity, and it seems like it's cranked up more than usual. And I'm like having to move very slowly to click.
Do you have a button on your mouse that adjusts the DPI?
There's like 47 buttons on this absurd mouse.
It's generally just below the scroll.
No,
That'll-
that's the one that controls my super. Oh God, Chris,
And we
look
broke
what
it.
you did.
What? Me? I
It's
get
all
blamed
Chris's
for
fault.
this. All right.
That was crazy. I literally just scrolled and it was like bricked the whole side.
That's typical for IT support. I say
Yeah.
one thing and it's my fault because it broke.
There is another button here, but I'm scared to click it. I don't know what'll happen. I'll just
You
very
should be
careful.
scared.
Nothing
Alright.
better than testing out all the buttons live.
Right.
people
Who-
watch.
like
Yeah.
it just nukes the whole stream.
Sure. Brings up your porn history.
There it
That's
is.
fine.
All right, so I got a good one here too. This is similar.
though. She just said her name used to be Kyle. I respect
He's
it.
literally
Just
gonna
wasn't
punch
ready to meet the extra fork on the first date.
Just got to third base. Turns out it was bigger than mine. Fuck that. I'm out.
I ain't even mad she had one. I'm mad it had veins. Bro, it winked at me.
It winked
Oh,
at me.
She just said her name used to be Kyle.
I was literally going to say that like I stumbled across this AI for like it's an orangutan,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
That it's so well done.
Yeah.
It's so good. Love it. I love that you also have put it on.
Right.
You
Oh no,
just-
it's funny though, because my father-in-law
Oh.
keeps sending us because we have an Instagram chat in the
Right.
family, and he keeps sending these AIs, and a lot of them are monkeys
Yeah,
doing stuff like this.
like Sasquatches and monkeys are
Yeah.
two current popular ones. So, and
Yeah.
I love the ones like this that are literally they're just like YouTubers or streamers, and he's like, "Yo, what
Yeah.
up, chat?" Like,
right.
it's just they're so stupid, and I love it
Yeah.
so much.
I haven't seen that one, but
Yeah,
it's really
that one made me it made me low. It's pretty good.
yeah,
it's winking
that's
at me.
really funny.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, man,
yeah. It
you
is.
get real vulgar right now,
Right.
but I know your wife's in the chat and she'd yell at me if I did that. So I'm just gonna not
Protect
say
yourself.
anything.
Save yourself from
Protect
it.
your net.
Yeah.
So
Protect your net.
last week we talked about Josh and Jace, the two British
Mhm.
guys that come over here a lot, and the saga has progressed. So I was just going to update everybody on
Oh
what's going
yeah.
on.
Let's see what the Brits are doing.
Yeah. So Josh, by the way, is basically revolting against the government in Britain. They are being forced to have license to watch television, even though they can already access it. So basically,
We're back to this.
if they decide that you have been watching television, they will make you pay a fee for watching your television, a tax. So I felt like also this was very on brand for our SLC Punk episode.
Hell yeah.
So yes, this is his update.
The UK government has officially threatened me in private. I've made it publicly that I will not pay the TV license fee in the UK. So they've sent me an email. I shouldn't show you this, but I'm going to show you anyway. Enjoy! They've addressed it in my name here. They've basically said they've been made aware of content that is being posted on social media. But this is the funny bit. Let's get into it, shall we? Stating that you refuse to pay the license for your television, please understand and be aware that these videos will be used as evidence. Evidence when we look into your case regarding your television license. Please bear this in mind in future. Well, this is my official reply, and look, I'll stop making videos. I've just realized this is a video. Of course I won't stop making videos, and of course I'm not paying for my TV license. Lock me up, throw away the key, because this guy ain't paying for his TV. Clearly,
Throw it
they've
away.
seen the videos, and they've seen this video. Hi, how are you? I'm still watching television, and I don't have a TV license. I'm now going to go enjoy my license-free TV. See you guys.
So he's clearly doubling down, and he said he was going to. So I'm proud of him. He's
Yeah.
sticking to his
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah.
Proud of you, bud.
He's telling him to suck it. It's good on him. I have a theory,
Yeah, okay.
and I'm wondering because he
Hit
is
me.
being very brazen with this.
Yeah, like it's in his face. They do
Yeah.
have evidence now against him.
Right. And we've seen how their government can be, and it's pretty tyrannical, to say the least. So, and I wish Banjo Sandwich was in the chat. He'll probably pop in at some point, and
he'll downvote you.
Yeah, he
as
probably
soon as he gets
probably
involved.
downvotes these videos.
He will. He probably will, and he'll say 50%.
And it's justified. We appreciate you.
Right.
Keep doing it. Downvote away, bud.
Yep. Love you, Banjo. I am curious what his opinion on all of this is. He'll probably say it's shite. But yeah, so my theory here is that I am wondering, he is here so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if he's actually planning on coming here permanently. And he's just like burning it down. Like he's just like,
I feel like I remember him even saying in a video that he was planning to like,
he might be trying to
here.
Yeah, he might be trying to get citizenship. So I am curious if that's what he's doing. Obviously, we know that takes some time, and
sure, but a visa doesn't.
Right.
You can hang out here for a while on a visa and do your shit.
Right.
And,
Now, granted, if he's got them after him for legal reasons, I don't know how that works.
well, for the visa process, yeah,
Right.
maybe. But do we really care? We're America, like
Right.
fuck England, right? Like you got crime. We're not a extratory.
Right.
What's no that we non
we extradite people. Yeah.
No, yeah, we
I don't think we
extradite
do.
people.
Do
Yeah,
we?
we do. Yeah,
We
we do.
probably
Are we
do.
really?
Yeah, there's
God,
only
we're
like
pussies?
5 or 6 like, countries that don't extradite. That's why
should-
people go to like the Bahamas.
Oh, that's fair.
That's true.
No, you're right.
At the very
Yeah.
least,
Yeah.
we should have one where like we don't extradite people
Yeah.
back to Britain. I mean,
we got there eventually.
I got it.
Extradite people back to England. Yeah.
But yeah, we shouldn't send them back to Britain at least.
No.
Like, screw those
Worse
guys.
than prison.
That's right. That's right. Especially nowadays, it's apparently gone pretty sideways. So I figured everybody might want an update on him though, because I found this pretty interesting and pretty cool. I'm glad he's still pushing back.
I wonder like what the consequences are. Let's just say he stops, keeps paying, not paying, and they're like, go all the way up. I really doubt they're gonna throw him in jail. I feel like they're just
No.
gonna like be like, here's a
It's like
fine,
$1,000
and maybe we'll cut off your cable
Right.
to your
Yeah.
property,
Right.
so you can't watch TV because you don't have cable.
Well, I think it's outside of even just that. I'm not sure. I think it might even pertain to like just also streaming and like watching things on your computer like that are considered television.
I mean, I think it would have to be
Yeah.
because how else? You can.
Nah.
It's just like, okay, here in the U.S., okay, I don't have cable anymore, but I stream everything. So if it's not that case, then why would you have cable at all?
I feel like it is a box, like a cable box
Yeah.
or DirecTV or whatever. Like, I don't think that it's just anything you consume through the internet, because that would be
Apparently,
How could they track that?
Right. I agree. Especially if
I
you're
mean-
using like
Anything, a VPN especially.
VPN.
But like,
so AI, at least on Google, is saying that this does also include to streaming services like Netflix, Prime Video, YouTube.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, anything that's a live streaming service, it supposedly includes those, and any household watching or recording television transmissions at the same time they are being broadcast is required by law to hold a television license.
Oh, so it's just like live.
I guess.
At the same
also
time.
But like, so does
streaming.
that consider us currently?
Well,
We're live,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like, would they
they're
get
being
punished for this?
taxed to watch us.
Right.
Yeah, that is a weird specific
says-
stipulation.
Yeah, it says this applies regardless of transmission method, including terrestrial, satellite, cable, and internet
Aliens.
streaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is precisely why we threw a shit ton of tea into a bay
Right.
at one point, because they're taxing us for something that they have no right to tax.
I mean, that's the government for you.
Big fact.
How much of our stuff is taxed, anyways? I'm
Let me tell you, I work for the assessor's office.
a lot.
Yeah,
Everything.
all of it, everything.
Everything you buy,
Yep.
everything you own.
Yep. And if you
penny
sell it,
make.
then you get taxed on it. And if you buy it, you get taxed on it. And if you hold it and give it to your kids, you're taxed on it.
Yep.
It's just
If they can, they're going to tax you every way, going and coming. They're
Mhm.
going to make money
oh yeah.
in every humanly way.
If they taxed me when I was coming, I'd be
They'd be in
bankrupt
pounds.
right now. Yep. Nothing.
They'd be
I'd have
loaded.
nothing left.
Loaded. Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
You get it? You
Yep.
get it?
Yeah.
So yes. You guys want to talk about some news?
Yeah, dude.
You want
Do it.
to do some news? All right, Matt, roll the All right. Yeah, I'm curious if all of that audio was as loud for you guys as it was in our ears. It probably wasn't. So Matt is in the
Ooh.
process of plugging me in.
Put it in there.
So yeah, have fun with that HDMI cable.
Put it in.
I always get really nervous with
Jesus.
cables.
Yeah.
Plugging them in.
Really?
Yes. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Something very strange happened.
Mhm.
When I got my day one Xbox Series X, I think.
Sure.
One of the Xboxes.
Yeah.
I got it brand new, plugged it in,
Mm-hmm.
and the internal cable components and the internal Xbox components, which is what caused it, shattered when I plugged them in.
Okay.
And it bricked my brand new Xbox.
Sure.
And so now anytime I get any resistance plugging in a cable, I'm just like,
Okay. So this just kind of comes back to, should you force it? It's like a Jeopardy category. Should you force it? How much resistance are you getting? It's a good indicator. Should you force it? Are they saying, oh God, please no, stop? You probably shouldn't force it. Also, if a cable takes more than like 3 pounds of pressure to plug it in, you probably shouldn't force it. They're very, they don't like intersect.
Well, that was the interesting thing with this was it was actually like a faulty in the Xboxes apparently.
Oh, okay.
And they had
So it's not your fault.
No, it wasn't my fault.
Victim blaming now.
I was,
Victim blaming the Xbox. Great. Okay.
Listen, I just forced it. The Xbox took it and decided to break. You know,
No, it's the Xbox fault.
It is.
It was a faulty Xbox.
Faulty Xbox.
Yeah.
No, they did actually. If anybody was wondering, they replaced it for free. I had to send it off. It took weeks, but
This is a big
It
bump.
delayed you from gaming for a while.
yeah. And but that sucks, right? Like
Downer.
brand
For
new
sure.
console, and day one is just breaks plugging in a cable.
Yeah.
Like I've literally been so nervous with every HDMI cable ever I've plugged in since that day. I'm just waiting for another one to shatter.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
it's good.
Yeah.
Good to be cautious.
A little bit of PTSD, you know. So
Yeah.
like Chris said, you don't force it.
Don't force it.
Don't
No
force
matter
it.
what it is. Don't force it.
Like how Caveat is still talking about tranny sticks.
The Miata really got him.
Yeah, because I mean they're in here still chatting about cars and manuals and autos. So caveat that this is for you.
Yep.
Like when shifting a tranny stick.
Yep.
You don't shift it too hard.
Yep. You don't shift them too hard. And Chris was the same for many, many years. We both only drove manuals for.
I've literally only
owned
a manual. Yeah. I've never owned an automatic, which I kind of regret. Like there's certain times where
It's
manual sucks big ass dick. The biggest ass dick ever. If you're in traffic, it's like terrible. I did appreciate though my Prelude. I had a Prelude. It was manual, but it also had cruise control.
Right.
I mean, I feel like that's probably pretty standard for anything nowadays, but my current truck does not have anything automatic, much less.
It's a Toyota truck. It doesn't even have a name. It's just called Toyota.
No, it's a
this one has a
Tacoma.
Oh, this one's a Tacoma?
2006
Your
Tacoma.
last one was the one called truck.
Yeah, my first vehicle was a pickup. That's literally the name.
No name.
It was not a. It's not a T1000. It wasn't a Tundra. It was a pickup.
That's like a Terminator.
I know. Toyota just
right.
They
know what's
well, it's Japanese.
Yeah,
they like robots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
But that's the only time that I miss having an automatic is in traffic.
Yeah,
So,
traffic sucks when having a manual.
Yeah.
I've missed having one because that's all I had for forever.
Yeah.
You still can't drive one, or can you, Matt?
No. Yeah, my family believed in that manuals were bad, and that my dad's stance was that we'd burn out the clutch and we'd have to like fix it all the time.
True.
That's a driver issue, not a vehicle.
Well, I'm
issue.
just saying, like, so my dad's stance was always to
have
no manuals in the household at all.
Interesting.
And then at that point, I was like, well, I'm not going to buy a manual. Like,
right.
I already had one that's automatic. Like, I'm not going to buy a new vehicle or
it's like going backwards at that point.
Yeah. So it's something I never ended up getting.
Yeah.
They're fun.
And I mean, at this point, like automatic, like the transmission before there was a benefit to having a manual transmission. Like
you could save your trans.
Yeah. Sure. It
is
just
that month.
worked better, and there was better like response, and you can get better performance out of it. But now, like technology's advanced so much, like automatics basically you can do just.
Well, it's funny because
it's whatever.
3 of my last vehicles have had the manual like shift paddles.
Oh, right.
And so I can throw it into manual if I want it for whatever reason, but it's not like there's no clutch. So it's literally just
finger blast your
Yeah,
car. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
yeah, you're just fingering your car for
DJ
whatever
diddling
reason.
it. Yeah.
They'll down.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
What is what it is.
Get it
But
out of
it's
your
weird
system.
because I was like, why would I do this?
Right.
It doesn't make it. It's not you have a
To make you
clutch,
feel
like,
better as a man.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
just be
it.
like, yeah, I've got a semi-manual right now.
I have control over the situation. That's
Right.
all it is. It's a control thing.
It's like Chelsea is saying, she's only driven one once and
Right.
then never again. I think that's the case for a lot of people. If you don't have a good teacher, and it's kind of one of those. It's one of those things. If you don't learn on it nowadays, going back to them, it's kind of hard.
But I will say that as a woman, especially
Mhm.
men too, I
Okay.
won't discriminate.
Sure,
but
sounds like
it
it.
is great to
Yes.
learn in case you're in a situation where you need to escape.
right. You never know.
Because
Like
if you're
down in
just,
the cornfield.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. Thank you.
Right, and it
they
was
did
in that movie.
They did that well in
Right.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
learn how to drive a stick just so in case you're in a situation where you're being
Right.
chased by killer clowns, you're in a cornfield, and you have to drive some beat up old fucking clunker,
Right.
you can get away.
Or a semi truck. You
Yeah.
never know when you're trapped and your only vehicle is a
Yeah.
semi truck, which I drove, and those have like 13 gears or
God.
so.
Yeah,
And I
fuck
doubt
that.
most manual drivers would be like, I can do this either.
Right.
You
That's
know?
a whole other thing. That's
Don't
even
they have double clutches or
you do
some
have to
bullshit?
double. Yeah, you do.
I don't even know what
you
that
float
means.
gears. It's a whole thing.
It's like
Yeah.
playing the double bass. Just
Yeah.
both feet, just
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, after this tangent, so some news dropped. We said we were going to talk about news,
Thank you,
not
Crisco.
manual
Thank you.
transmissions. So
Thank you, Crisco.
now that we've talked about transmissions forever, so some news just dropped, actually, and I should have kept my screen up for TikTok because I don't have the news, but I'll just go ahead and tell you guys what the news is, and it's that we're getting a new film from Mel Brooks, which is really weird, and that new film is Spaceballs 2. So yeah, right. And so basically they released a little
So
trailer.
wild.
It's apparently going to be making fun of the prequels from what they're saying. So
Okay.
But so what they did is they did a Star Wars scroll.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Intro scroll is
Yes.
what they released, and it just goes on for about like a minute and a half, and just makes fun of all these movies with
right, like
dozens of people.
Marvel,
Like it literally is like there's 36 Marvels with a dozen shows and
and
with
2
8 Fast
DC
and Furiouses
reboots,
and DC 1 and DC 2 and 8 Harry Potter movies with a show that's also gonna be the 8 movies. And
Holy shit.
so this is what it lays out in the scroll. And then it
Okay.
ends something along the lines of, but there was only one Spaceballs
Right.
until now.
True.
and then
Okay.
basically at the end, Mel Brooks comes on screen and he's basically like, everyone was requesting that we make X and Y movie, and we gave them not the one that they asked for, which is a sequel to Spaceballs. And so he just
Nice.
kind of leans into the joke, and he's like, we're doing another Spaceballs. So
I really can't believe that he's still alive.
yeah, I
What is he
can't
like
either.
102?
He's very old. In the video, let me see. I can pull up my TikTok. This is through a totally different method, but I can show you. Here it is. No. I was going to show. It had a picture of him and where he talks. Oh my god, my
That's
mouth.
a copyright strike.
Yeah,
the
no,
first
it doesn't have
year.
audio.
Oh,
Only we can
okay.
hear it.
There he is.
So yeah, but there he is. He's old, and he's still doing it. I had no idea he was alive either. So
Yeah.
it's kind
Good
of
for
wild.
him.
But anyways, yeah. good on
I'm
him.
curious to see what they're gonna do. So
Yeah.
the other movie, the Spaceballs itself, just makes fun of the first movie,
Right.
episode
Yeah.
4,
A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Mhm.
So are they gonna do like the second movie? Are they gonna make fun of
I would.
episode 8 through 9? Like I'm curious to see
Well,
what they're gonna
I
do.
would love to see them. Honestly, I would prefer for them to make fun of the sequels versus the prequels, because like it would be pretty great for them to just roast the shit out of the sequels.
Yeah.
But you know,
Personally.
they're doing the prequels. Yes.
Oh, they are doing the
It sounded
prequels.
like that was what I saw.
Oh, is
Something.
it?
I saw something say that somewhere. I could be wrong.
I think it's just theories at this point.
Yeah.
Since
Okay.
we just
Okay.
got that. Like I mean that just dropped like 2 hours ago.
Oh, geez.
It's new.
Yeah.
This is
Blake
great.
wasn't even here 2 hours.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it wasn't.
You probably saw it while driving. Probably watching TikTok.
Oh no,
Those kids these
what it was.
days.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah, no, it's that it's talking about in the thing. It's talking about there being a prequel trilogy, a sequel
Mhm.
trilogy, all that
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. And I think in my head, I said that it was going to be prequels. So
Okay.
that was my own head canon I created while on the
You
way.
pulled
over.
a knee.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
okay.
I pulled a U. So yeah, as it goes, I am curious to see. It sounds like For example, we have some people in the chat. You guys are talking about it. Sounds like y'all saw it. JJ Happenstance saw it and said he's excited about it. Thought that the crawl was really funny, and he's hoping it's worthwhile. I hope it is too. I hope it's good. Honestly, I don't know if any of you guys have gone back to Spaceballs. I did recently. Didn't like it that much.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say that I was not like a giant fan of it. Like it wasn't like a peak for me of a great movie. I mean, it's entertaining and it's fun, you know, like as much as a Mel Brooks film can be. But it wasn't like some revolutionary thing.
Oh, by the way, caveat said he could hear the music. I don't know how you can hear the music. You're not supposed to be able to.
And we've been stricken.
Yeah, so
no, I think it's because it's on the same page as the TikToks were, and they can hear the TikTok.
Oh, it's because the TikTok is that page is still streaming audio.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting loophole that we didn't know we had. That's okay. Well,
hopefully it wasn't enough to be like copyright strike.
Oh well, so
BS.
As everyone else says, you know, feel free to super chat because we're gonna get copyright striked, and no one's gonna see this. So, and from what I hear, SLC Punk, it does have a fairly dedicated fan base that will show up for videos about it. So, yeah, apparently. So, and
cool.
Well, if they're punk, they wouldn't, but.
Right. If they're
that's we'll the quandrum.
Yeah, and if they're a modern punk, then they definitely don't like this movie, or will not like us talking about it, because I have some opinions about the modern
talk
punks.
about this. Yeah. I'm ready to get into it.
You know what I'm saying?
Do we have more news?
So yes, we do have more news, but that is the brand new smoking hot news, is that movie is happening. Now, next up to bat, I did not realize is that now I did realize that there's a lot of controversy surrounding the one, the only Sir Jared Leto. But basically,
sorry. He's not a sir. First of all, let's not give him that title.
Right, he's not
because he's a tool.
Yeah, that's right. He is a D-bag. Yeah, so we've all known that Jared Leto is a giant D-bag. Everybody, it's pretty much like a very well-known thing. Everybody, there's been rumors circulating about him being a little freaky, a little weird, kind of creepy for a long time. Over the weekend, there have been many allegations that have come out, apparently.
Just over the weekend?
Yeah, just over the weekend.
It's a busy weekend.
Well, apparently they've started actually reporting things at this point. This has been going on for a while, but this article actually basically breaks down what is currently happening in the situation, and then basically what he's got up to bat, which is interesting because as you can see in the photo here, he's going to be the lead of the new Tron, and he's also going to be Skeletor in the new He-Man movie. Live action He-Man movie.
What now?
Yes. So both of these things are happening. So Tron Ares, he is the lead. So that means Disney is going to have to deal with him. And then Masters of the Universe is going to be an Amazon MGM picture, which means that they are going to have to deal with him. So the question at this point is, we've got 2 blockbusters coming out very soon with this guy in lead roles, and how are the studios going to deal with the fact that he has a bunch of allegations against him?
Yeah, but it's one of those questions like we saw with Johnny Depp. Allegations are allegations until there's a court case ruling and all that. Because look at Johnny Depp's career; like he had allegations, and it took like 3 or 4 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't like Jared Leto, but
innocent
in all fairness,
until proven guilty.
Right. And how many times have we seen celebrities like Jonah Hill, for example, where there were allegations against him?
Right.
Well, those were dealt with quickly, and it turned out they were false.
Right. And that,
so there's stuff like that.
Right. There's a lot of people that fell victim to the Me Too stuff after the first wave of the really bad Me Too stuff, which was in
2012, by the way.
Really?
Fucking ridiculous.
Wow. That's wild. Well, and actually, I've mentioned before, we've been watching The Morning Show, and on that, it's a TV show on Apple called The Morning Show. Okay. But basically, the whole first season deals with a bunch of the Me Too fallout and the complexity of the fact that a lot of people got canceled during all of that. Should have been because of them just being cannon fodder to the movement.
The due process got skipped over a little bit.
Yeah, big time.
In favor of emotionalism.
Yes.
Which
that's never good.
Sign me up. Like I was a part of that. Like I will always side. Well, not now, but like back then, I was always siding for the underdog.
Right.
If you were the victim in something, I was going to agree with you until proven otherwise.
Right.
And that doesn't always work out in the best.
Because what we see happening is people just get thrown under the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like those inflammatory headlines that these news companies use nowadays. they'll throw these out, people will grab them and run with them for like months
Right.
before, and after that, the damage is already done to the reputation of these
Exactly.
individuals.
Right.
And that's why I'm curious about these allegations against Jared Leto.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are there just now? He's been famous since 2007, 2008. Like when
Well, he was
with 30
in
Seconds to
Fight Club.
Mars, like
Right.
So
yeah, Fight Club.
Yeah.
Like he's been around since early, like the mid 90s, and he's been
Yeah.
famous this whole time. This isn't just like.
And there have been
I know they're new,
allegations
but-
circling for a long time, but
Yeah.
granted, they're not anything like some of the allegations we've heard against other people. And so I want y'all to hear this paragraph here. It's interesting. So what it says is, among the most explosive allegations in the airmail piece were its claims that Leto used sexually aggressive language with a minor, asking her if she had ever given oral. The report also said that Leto paraded with his dick out in front of a 17-year-old at his home.
Okay.
Leto denied both accusations. None of the alleged misbehavior happened on a film set, sources close to Tron noted, and no criminal charges or civil suits have been brought against the star. Another insider close to Masters of the Universe made similar things. So they're basically pointing out, like, as far as the industry goes, that's the thing, is that a lot of people have been canceled for things that have happened with nothing in relation to things happening on set or to people. And they're basically like, let's hold on.
Right.
This wasn't happening internally with the industry. And like Chris said, innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
For me, it's such a. I'm gonna pull it out. You ready?
Whip it out.
No, not my dick.
Not like Leto.
The word dichotomy. It's such a dichotomy because it's. I understand why these studios are saying none of this happened while filming Tron or whatever it is, whichever film it is, which feels so slimy to me, at least. It's like, oh, who gives a shit where it would happen? Like, it's an atrocity. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But I understand they're protecting themselves and they want the film to proceed. And, they want to distance themselves from the actor.
And they're claiming that there are 9 accusers. Now, the interesting thing here, too, for me personally, and it's like, where do you draw the line? What's the issue here? Where it's like, what I just said was the most salacious, right?
Yeah.
This is nothing compared to a lot of things we've heard from a lot of people in this industry and many others, as far as so that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's a dangerous slip.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, but being that this is the most salacious, there is no physical abuse that we have heard of. That is the interesting thing here. So like you said, where do you draw the line? Is this just messages and him just being a little creepy creep? Because remember, this happened to the singer of Maroon 5, but just not to anybody
Adam
underage.
Levine.
Levine.
Yeah, Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Divine is the guy from Workaholics. But yes.
Yeah. And also
we don't want to throw around any fake accusations, Chris.
Oh no, I'm gonna throw somebody under their bus. Somebody's a pedophile, and I'll name them right now.
Yeah, Chris has a long history of calling people things that they aren't on the air. So I don't remember who that was or what.
No, it was the guy from
that, like, this isn't even nearly as crazy as some of the stuff that they were pointing out about Johnny Depp or other.
So this is the least.
No, this is the most.
Oh.
They're saying that was what I just read was the most salacious.
Him whipping his dick out in front of an underage
17-year-old. Yeah,
which is not acceptable.
Right. You're right.
I mean, I think that's
in some states legal,
straight to jail.
In some states legal,
surprisingly enough.
Yes,
straight to jail though.
Right.
For me,
for you, right.
Straight to jail.
And this is in no defense of him.
Imagine
I'm just saying,
your daughter.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Currently,
with the dude's thing off,
and there's some. There's this person with his dick out.
Yeah.
Straight to jail.
I mean, it's all going to come down to if they have evidence,
right,
for this, or if these are allegations,
for sure,
because they are salacious. I mean, they are terrible.
Yeah.
Right. Remember, if that was
and salacious.
But if they're false and they don't, or if they don't have any like thing to back them up with, besides people coming forward and like, oh, this happened,
for sure,
because this is the line to walk. Like, are they just trying to like ruin his name with baseless? Like,
Right.
Or trying
exactly.
to get cash, it's just a paycheck. Right.
And that's a lot of what happens is these people this stuff goes away because they end up getting hush money or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what they were looking for all along. And then they disappear. So I am curious what shakes out with this. I didn't want to call attention to it on the show in case it comes up again, because I am very curious, especially with Tron around the corner.
Yeah.
And
I think
how
it's
they
too
market
late
him.
to like recast them or anything. They're just gonna have to go with it.
The movie.
And they can't undersell it because they have to make their money on this.
Right. Which also, we've all been saying forever that it's an extreme wild card to cast Jared Leto.
I don't know why they're doing it. He's not good.
Honestly, to throw this out here, I feel like he's a great fit for the Tron universe.
You
I feel like
think
his personality, the way that he's so quirky and like a little bipolar-y, multi-personality.
Yeah.
I feel like it fits in Tron well.
Right.
The other one, what did you say?
Which
Masters of the
lead in
Universe?
this.
Or
He's playing Skeletor, by the way.
yeah, Skeletor does not fit at all. But Tron, I could see him being a good fit into that film. Skeletor, no, I don't see that at all. It's just like the same thing with him with Joker. Like,
Right.
I'm sure he had a lot of deleted scenes where it was really great.
Right.
It's still just
But they
not
deleted
my
him,
Joker.
Right. Well, as far as we know, there's supposedly a cut, but I would be very curious to see it.
Let's see the Jared Leto cut.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of
Let's see it.
17-year-olds that
I am curious though to see what happens with Jared Leto. We'll keep an eye on all of this, and I see the chat has still been really active. We know what's going on, guys. I'm keeping an eye. How you doing?
I don't.
Yes, Twisted. I see that you got yourself a mullet a couple days ago. We're out here rocking it. Chris had one a while back, and
yeah, I did.
It went away.
Yeah,
the mullet went away.
I keep mixing things up.
You do.
People keep commenting on my hair.
Yeah.
At work, they're like, "Oh, you cut off all your hair," and I'm like, "Yeah."
So
like,
you did cut it again, right? You got
like 2 weeks ago. Thanks for noticing.
Listen,
wow.
Zena noticed
no
it too. You
blowjob
said you did
tonight.
change your hair.
Yeah.
You just never know what state we're gonna catch it in. It's like it could be
Yeah.
frizzy. It could be like it is now, where it's a little more like
greased
chilling
down,
greased
a little.
down.
have to take a
looks like
shower.
showered in a couple days.
No, I like
Yeah,
it. I think
exactly.
it looks good.
Oh, thanks.
I like this better.
All right.
actually.
Well,
Yeah,
I
a
will
little grease
shower
in there
for
looks
you.
good.
Just keep
Yeah,
a
little
little
grease.
grease.
That's the excuse
Less
I'll
grease.
use for Blaine. I'm doing this for Blaine.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for
No
looking out for
shower
me.
for 3
But
days.
yeah, so mullets unite. You know what I'm saying? We keep them going strong, and I regularly get called a '70s porn star between the hair and
you?
mustache.
Dash.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I've seen you in a 70s porn.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I've watched my.
And I see that Troy is in here. What's up, Troy? And he just says that he wishes he had hair. And Troy's a cool dude. I actually met Troy in Orlando quite some time ago. So cool dude. But once the hair goes, you just embrace it. Like I said or was it on this stream? No, it was on a different stream. But my grandpa, when he was completely bald, he went bald at in his 20s. And he called it his solar panel for a sex machine.
Brother, your grandfather has had the best quotes. You need to write them down.
Yeah,
because
save them
they're
forever.
Fantastic. Like the reason why you were hunched over for most of your high school days.
Yeah. My grandpa told Chris, because I had very terrible posture growing up. I was very hunched over because I was really tall and super skinny, and he told people that the reason that I was so hunched over was because my dick was so big that it was dragging my back down.
Okay, can you imagine having a grandpa so dope as fuck that they literally told your friend your dick was so big, that's why you had bad posture.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about like a W grandpa.
Right. Doesn't get any better.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I want some of his ashes. Whenever he dies, I want it on a little.
He's already gone. We'll have to see if we can find
dig
some
him up.
ashes.
Give me some little tincture.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Right.
'Cause I want to carry that motherfucker around forever.
It's just
he's
solid
a
manliness in a in a vial.
It's a real one.
He
for
definitely
sure.
was. Yeah. And as Troy says, Blaine's grandfather quotes, it would be a bestseller. I should probably make a book in all
100%.
honesty. So,
And they're easy to make. You can do like inspirational quotes where you just do a quote a page.
Yeah.
Because we have a couple of them upstairs. I'm like, this is the dumbest book I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
It's like 10
And you
words a
bought it.
page. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Somebody else in this house
somebody bought it.
But it's good for like Christmas gifts,
Yeah.
the white elephant or whatever they're called.
Right. But
Secret
it's just
Santa.
like 30 pages with maybe 100 words.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, what?
Easy money, baby.
Yeah.
So another new piece of news that just dropped today is that James Gunn has announced that there is another DC animated series coming down the pipe. It is Mr. Miracle, which has gotten greenlit over at Warner Brothers Animation / DC Studios. There's a photo here of what the art is going to look like, and I am not familiar with Mr. Miracle. I didn't know of this character. Apparently, he has a super muscly, gigantic wife named like Big Bertha or something. Nope, it's Big Barda is the name of his wife. Big Barda, and he's Mr. Miracle. And so it says the series follows Scott Free, known worldwide as Mr. Miracle, the greatest escape artist who ever lived, with his wife, Big Barda. Scott seemed to have built the perfect life on Earth until everything began to unravel as war erupts between the planets Apocalypse and New Geonosis. Scott's adoptive father, Darkseid. So interesting. So his adoptive father is Darkseid, which is a very notorious big bad in DC.
I'm sorry, by seed, you mean Dark Side?
Nope, Darkseid. Darkseid or side?
I thought it is side.
Maybe that is. Is it spelled SEID? Dark Side?
Yeah,
Dark Side?
I still think that's
is the
right.
Superman
villain. I know
pretty
now.
sure
I'm going
that's
to Google it.
I
I think
it's-
so. That is how this spelled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like the Thanos
All
of
right.
DC.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah.
I did want to make sure there was not some like alternate
You're
universe
good. I'm glad you corrected me. You know,
where he's like a botanist.
He
and,
could be.
I'm
pretty
like
sure that
really
there
into
is a
plants and
dark
feeds.
seed in one of the comics, but I
Okay.
don't know.
Could
And
be.
not DC. It
I
might be a
trust you.
Marvel thing.
I
You
don't
know, the similar names, whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
so it says has apparently obtained an anti-life equation, a devastating force capable of dominating the universe. So basically, it's about Mr. Miracle becoming the last hope of peace, blah, blah, blah. So basically, this show's happening. It's interesting. I'm curious to see. The weird thing here about all of the DC shows and the ones connected to at least DC Studios is supposedly they are all connected to the greater DC universe, which means that potentially any and all things that happen in these shows could show up in live action, similar to the stuff in Creature Commandos.
I feel like that's a bad move.
Well,
I just think it's not something they should have done. They should have kept the animated world and the live action world separated.
I don't know. It's
But-
like I liked Creature Commandos, so
Yeah.
I'm like I'm game for that tying in. So it's like
I feel like as long as they do it well, regardless of how they tie it into the overarching universe,
Mhm.
if it's done well, it'll be well received. I know that's a really stupid take and like is kind of obvious.
This is
but
everything. You do it well, they're gonna come.
Yeah.
You build it, they'll come.
oh, they're coming.
They
Everybody's coming.
actually, speaking of coming, Troy just did leave a very
Superman's
good
coming.
comment. Sorry to interject.
No, you're good.
He said apparently in Jack Kirby's New Gods, post-crisis, Big Barda and Superman were telepathically controlled into filming an adult film. Not kidding, it's comic canon.
Wow.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
amazing. Big Barda
Yeah.
getting smashed
What
by
side
the
is
soup
that
or
on?
vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Where can I
Where
find
can
this?
I avoid this site?
Yeah, yeah.
Watch this.
to find
Or
this
not watch it,
read
rather.
it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
gonna be trouble for you, buddy. You can look at the pictures.
Reading.
It's a comic book. Yeah.
Only readings for idiots.
Comic. You can look at the
Right.
pictures.
Yeah.
I had never heard of Big Barda, so this is kind of wild.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued. This is interesting to me.
It definitely seems like they're like, all right, how deep cut can we go?
Right. Well, and so I didn't pull the article up, but that's the discussion happening right now, is that back when James Gunn announced all of this stuff was happening in DC,
Mhm.
there was a lot of stuff announced, some really obscure, weird things. And
Yes.
apparently this wasn't even on the list, and this has been greenlit now. Apparently the other things are taking a while to gestate and like to even happen at all. It sounds like, because there was like Swamp Thing, all sorts of things. If we don't get a Swamp Thing movie, I'm going to be freaking mad. I love Swamp Thing. I have a Swamp Thing tattoo. I think Swamp Thing is super
Didn't
cool.
they have a show for something?
They did. And it was
Okay.
actually quite good, and it lasted one season, which was
Yeah.
a bummer. And they filmed
Yeah.
it here in North Carolina.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah,
Makes
it was
sense.
cool. Yeah, it was cool, but it got canceled. So I would hope that that still happens, but it sounds like some of the others might not, which might be a good thing. So the point I'm getting at here is that during this current superhero, I don't like to say superhero fatigue. Granted, to some degree, it's happening for some people.
For me, 100%.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But basically the discussion is the obscure stuff going to stop happening because these studios are only going to want to rely on Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the big dogs, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And is the obscure stuff going to go by the wayside, which doesn't quite track with this getting greenlit, but it's animated.
But we have things like Peacemaker,
Right.
that is well received,
Right.
and they're saying is part of the canon. He, to me, is a
Right.
weird random side
Oh,
character.
absolutely.
And so with him doing so well, I think that's probably where they probably keep hanging their hat. They're like, hey, we can make it work.
Right. Well, as James
just has to
Gunn,
be done
he
right.
makes weirdness work all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. But it sounds like at least still sometimes the rubber meets the road with the heads of the studio heads, which means the people over James Gunn and Peter Safran who run DC. So I'm curious to see what happens. I think that they will continue to push, like I said, things like Wonder Woman and Superman as far as live action before they get more weird.
Yeah, because didn't they announce that they are going to do a Wonder Woman?
Yes, that's definitely happening.
Somebody talking about that.
That is
okay.
So on to non-DC news, which I wanted to make sure we got to, is 2 animated things. The first of which I find very interesting considering what a terrible situation this franchise is in, which is Doctor Who getting an animated series. I have never seen a show fall off as hard, an entire franchise be burned to the ground as fast as Doctor Who.
Oh, and they're doubling down. So he's out as Doctor?
He is,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, he's out as the Doctor because they decided to make Doctor Who just nothing but a big gay advertisement. That's the only thing I noticed.
Right.
Like, and I don't even mean like I'm being completely serious when I say that. If you've been keeping up with Doctor Who, like quite literally the past 2 seasons have been just nothing but a bunch of LGBT stuff, which everybody is just like, what the fuck is happening? Why are you doing this to this series? This makes no sense. And just a lot of like political correctness and just like we don't even like we've all pivoted away from using woke because it's such a shitty term. But this show at the end of woke went full woke.
And that's the thing is like I don't prefer woke stuff, but even watching it, it was unentertaining,
right?
And just like injected in there in a way that was just not.
It was propaganda.
Fun. I love Doctor Who, and I watched all of it. I've watched the Jodie Whittaker. I've watched, I can't remember his name before that. Peter Capaldi. I don't particularly like that stuff. I just don't like the way it's written. I don't like some of the characters. But when it got to the newest Doctor, it was just so over the head. It just beat you. And if you didn't particularly like it, it didn't matter because it was over and over again. It's one thing if it's like every once in a while, a character here, a character there.
It was like correcting pronouns and the whole gamut, like all the stuff.
Yeah.
And so basically the entire fan base has run away.
Right.
And now they're announcing that there's a new animated series heading to the BBC. Now, the nice thing is at least it's not connected to this Dr. Shudigatwa or whatever his name was.
Great name.
Yeah. So basically, though, it sounds like this show is actually going to be aimed at a preschool audience. So this is a little kids Doctor Who animated show. And it's a very odd choice, but
yeah.
Obviously, they're trying to convert the youngins to the Doctor Who. But honestly, this could be handled well and in an educational way. And it sounds like at least they are being smart and separating themselves from Disney, which is a very smart move because they are are responsible for driving Doctor Who into the ground.
So, I have no insight on any of this. I've never seen Doctor Who.
You would love the early stuff.
I think it's gay. And that's saying something. Oh, no, I've always thought
that's
it's always been like, this is like real lame sci-fi.
It's pretty cool.
There's a lot of really cool. There's a lot of really cool. Yeah, there is.
I got deep into Doctor Who way late in life.
So deep into this.
Yeah, it probably, I don't know. It's probably been about 10 years ago now, at least.
Yeah.
And I fell in headfirst and loved it. And then when they got to Peter Capaldi, I fell off. I just wasn't crazy about him as the Doctor and haven't watched since.
Yeah, and I think since then it's just been like bad casting. I mean, David Tennant and Matt Smith just rocked it so hard.
They were perfect.
And then Peter Capaldi was okay. And then Jodie came in and
bad.
It's not that she was bad. It was that they were so serious.
Right.
Like I was like, every episode is so heavy.
Right.
That I was like, I don't want to binge watch this. I'll watch an episode and then I won't watch it for a long time because I'm like, I don't want to watch some super heavy stuff. And honestly, I like Jodie's like companions the most out of like their last 10 years of companions, but it's just one of those things where it's too heavy.
Yeah.
And then I watched a couple of the new Doctor, but the interesting thing is the new Doctor is Billy Piper.
Or maybe there's some discussions on if that's actually going to happen.
That's
or
what they
if that was like
showed in
they
the
did.
episode.
I have a feeling that that doesn't even with canon doesn't make sense without getting into Doctor Who canon.
I don't even understand how they would do that either.
I don't either.
But
and
Also-
caveat said also, just by the way, it's Davies who is responsible, and I agree, yeah, technically, but Disney was tied into that. But Disney just liked what he wanted to do, which is very true. That's the showrunner. He's the guy who was actually responsible for many of the very good Doctor Who years. They brought him back, and he apparently lost his mind in the amount of time that he wasn't making Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But anyways, Chris, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna shout out Zagak.
Yeah.
What up, buddy?
Yo, dude. Yeah.
Good to see you.
We got Kyle Gazak in the chat looking
look at that
serious in that
Look at that
picture. Look at that
picture.
thing. Talk about a solar power for a sex machine. You know what I'm saying?
Is that a
That
turtleneck?
right there, that is a turtleneck. His dad has photos that are identical to this, and it's what makes it 10 times more amazing to see Kyle because his dad had shots like this, and it's just great. But anyway,
generational power.
It is. And if you guys, Kyle is a Criticless user. He's Kyle off script, I think, on Criticless, right?
Yeah.
And then, he's been on the show multiple times on previous episodes. He was on a Green Street Hooligans episode and some others. So, yeah.
And has been our friend for 25 years.
Yeah, for many, many years.
Yeah.
But what up, homie? So, but that is the news. Is a Doctor Who animated TV series it's surrounded around education stuff and preschool kids, which is just weird.
Could be cool.
But paired with that is news that actually, speaking of Kyle Gazak, would be very excited about, which is the Stranger Things animated show.
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. What?
Hold on.
Hold on.
Stranger Things was 5 years ago.
No, it wasn't. The
Yeah.
last season is coming.
Pump your brakes, brother.
Sure, it's coming in 5 more years.
No, it's coming literally in a couple months. They're done. It's
okay.
I'm
Whatever
coming
you
to
tell
you.
yourself. It's literally been like 5 years.
It has.
Since the last
It's been a
season.
long time.
It is so.
Has it?
Yes.
Literally?
It's been 4 maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the whole Metallica uprising
Right.
with Vecna and
Yeah, but that is literally so long ago.
was it?
Yes. I don't know what.
No, I don't know.
long.
I have no
No,
idea.
literally, it's been that long. Like it was like
Okay.
2020. I think is when season 4 came out.
All right.
Maybe it was 2021.
All right.
It has been that long,
Okay.
and I doubt it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like fall of 2026. 5 years.
No, it's supposed to. No, they've fully announced there's
Mhm.
episode names, episode lengths.
Mhm.
They're cut. It's
It's
happening.
all stuff that's just written down. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
no,
good. How about some
It's on the
trailers,
internet.
some proof,
Right.
maybe?
Well,
Yeah.
so it's coming out on Christmas Day, is what they're saying, and it came out back in 2022. So
Why would it
3 years.
Christmas
3 years.
Day?
That's all. 3 years. I don't know.
Almost 4 because it's literally 6 days away. This is so dumb. Like, why
I'm
are
sorry.
they
What?
taking
No,
so
hold on.
long?
Wait. Time out.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that
sorry.
math doesn't
What are
math.
you saying?
Math.
I
It's
mathed it
4
up,
years
man.
ago. Coming. How many days from now?
For 6 days from when it's coming out.
6 days
Oh,
from now.
so actually, no, that's not actually when it starts. The premiere is on November 26th.
Okay.
For not the animated show, but the new season or the final season is they have all the episodes online as far as what the episode names are. And then the final episode is on December 31st. So there's like episodes coming out in chunks.
Okay. Can I say, I feel like
Go.
this is a smart transition because it started off as kids, right?
Right.
Doing their
Right.
shit. It's
Mhm.
kind of like the whole It series,
Right,
right?
right.
Like your kids are going to outgrow that role and because it takes time to, produce shit. And I don't know, movies or shows, but I feel like this is a good transition as long as it's done well. I
Right.
think transitioning into animated to maintain those characters, at the age that they are, because you can't pretend that somebody that's 20 is 12 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait,
so
so is this anime show actually like these characters?
So yes. So I have read the article, and essentially what is happening here is that it's taking place in between 2 seasons. Now, I don't want to incorrectly state which seasons those were. Okay, so here's all the details they have on it. It's taking place in 1985, which is between seasons 2 and 3.
Okay.
So basically, we don't know how many episodes are being made, and but basically they have actually changed animation styles. Apparently, initially it was actually going to look like a Saturday morning cartoon
Mhm.
from the time.
Okay.
But apparently they decided that due to the subject matter and that it was a bit darker and whatever, they wanted to change the look of it. So they pivoted over to more of like a CG, more modern-y animation style. I kind of like the idea of going retro with the animation for this series because that's a cool idea.
Well, then why didn't they do this already? Why are we okay? So at this point, that's been corrected. Was it 3 years now later? Why didn't they do this like a year after that last season? Since this recent season took 3 years.
Right.
This is what for me kills a show.
Yeah.
If you take such a huge gap for no reason.
The big plus here is that this is one of the biggest television shows ever made. And I think that luckily in their favor, it's nearly impossible it would be impossible to kill the show because it is so big.
Oh yeah. But now they're going to milk it. They're going to be like,
I don't know.
I mean, they've done it with some shows, but this show, people are going to show up for this last season.
They will, but it could still be shit.
Oh, no, I'm not saying content-wise. I just mean as far as people showing up.
Okay.
For the first couple
Initially,
episodes.
Right.
Usually just think about Game of Thrones in season 8.
Right.
I think that's the last one.
So they are claiming that this new series is going to have new mysteries and new monsters. They did show footage, so people have seen it. They saw some footage from the Upside Down with vines in the real world with a pumpkin head on top of them that was alive. The original, so the creators, Matt and Ross Duffer, the Duffer Bros, are attached to this and they are involved. So that is a good sign that the original creators are involved, and those guys are actually from North Carolina as well, if I remember right, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
So, but yeah, so they are involved, and basically, this guy named Eric Robles is the showrunner, and they looked to the real Ghostbusters cartoon, for kind of the guiding force and inspiration for the show, which is cool. I used to watch that back in the day. It was a cool ass cartoon. So
okay, so my only. Like, I'm on board for it. I think it's a good idea to transition into animated, but the time frame for it to take place between 2 seasons that we've already had, like, why wouldn't we have heard it? Like, the timeline whole thing. If it's the same characters, like if it's the same cast as far as, you know, the kids that are involved with it, it seems really weird to do it like post-mortem, like in between seasons. Like,
yeah, it would make more sense if they did a spin-off show or something like that.
So there is a spin-off still happening.
Of course, why wouldn't there be?
Well, from what I gathered, or maybe it's not. I could be. Don't quote me on that. It might not be a spin-off. I know that they have another show coming. I thought that there was also a spin-off, but I know that the Duffer Brothers have a similar realm TV show. But anyways, so we'll see. But also
another thing.
Yes.
So Netflix did their To Dumb recently, which used to be when they would show off trailers for shit. And instead, this year's To Dumb, they just had the cast, the Netflix sound. That's what they call their like annual showcase.
They're like presser.
Yeah. Well, this year they decided not to show like trailers and stuff, and I was like, why not? Like they showed like Chopper, which is cool, but like for Stranger Things, they should have been like, here is our trailer if it's coming out in 5 months.
Well, no, so the new season of the new show. This is not. This is
sure. This will be probably after the fact. This will probably be next
right.
year.
This isn't fully locked in as far as a date or anything. They've just shown footage, and so people are just kind of talking about it. They're saying that it's next year. So I mean, I'm excited about it. We'll see. It is a weird move to put it in between seasons. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't like that. But
we'll see. Yeah. So we are running over on the early segments. So what I'm thinking we do is we go ahead and get into our review. If our review does not run over or anything, then maybe we'll talk about some things that we've been watching, or we'll just save it for next week.
Sure.
But we did have Caveat Taza pulled it up. He's signing out. Got to go. Suns baseball. Yeah, dude. Good to see you. Glad to have you in the chat for the 2 for thank you. Much appreciated for all the super chats, memberships, all of that. If you are not a membership of, don't have a membership of the channel, you can definitely do that if you want to show us some love. Or even more importantly, go to criticless.com or find us in the Android or Apple app stores. It's Criticless is the app that you can find, or criticless.com. An entertainment reviewing platform for anybody in the chat that might not know. But this is I think the time that we need to go ahead and move into our review for the movie, which we are going to be talking about for tonight. Matt, go ahead and roll. And we need to still getting used to running all these thingies. So yeah, so today we are going to be talking about the film SLC Punk. Now, like I said at the start of the show, this is one of those that is just a, I don't want to call it a childhood favorite because I didn't see it as a child. This was a random scenario. I was, and Chris can attest to this. I loved punk shit back in the day, like a lot. And I listened to a lot of Ramones and a lot of The Clash and all sorts of other punk bands, which I don't really listen to much anymore, which is kind of a shame. And we had a big rise of pop punk when we were all kids during the time when it was, your Sum 41s, your Blink-182s, and lots of those, but they weren't really punk, not really. And that's the thing, is the legit punk people you knew back then, they were like, don't listen to those dumbass bands. That's not punk music. It's got to be the OG stuff. And if you were into the more modern things, it was like the Misfits or
Sex Pistols.
Yeah, the Sex Pistols were old, and that's the whole thing. They get into some of that in this movie. But this whole movie is about punk culture in the 80s. Now, the movie was released in 1998. It's considered a crime drama comedy. I think that's fairly appropriate. The crime aspect
should not be first.
Yeah, this shouldn't be first. It should be more of like a comedy drama crime.
Yeah.
I guess.
And they commit a lot of crime.
Yeah, there is a lot of crime.
Well, that's fair.
If you know anything about punks, there's a lot of crime regularly involved.
Yeah.
And in this movie, there's a lot of crime.
There's a lot of crime. Yep.
I would say documentary first.
Right.
Documentary first, because the vast majority of this movie is narrated.
Right.
Literally, like.
But that doesn't make it a documentary.
It just feels it has that vibe.
It's a Christmas story, then it's a documentary.
I mean, yeah.
Is 90% of it voiced over? Yeah.
I wonder, there should be a genre for, like, if there is a voiceover for a film, and it's like a documentary style like this is. It is an interesting approach to something like this. So, this is one. I'm curious. I don't know how many of you in the chat have seen this or are just intrigued to hear us talk about it and decide if you want to see it. I did drop my review already within Criticless. And actually, something that I wanted to do, you haven't dropped yours yet, Matt?
No. We don't want to wait till after.
Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and do it before, and I did want to run this clip really quick.
But for the first time in my life, I'm 18 and I can say, fuck you!
Steven, I didn't sell out, son. I bought in. Keep that in mind. That kid is gonna make one hell of a lawyer, huh?
Yeah, he takes after his father. He's a son of a bitch.
Fuck you, dear.
It's so good. That scene is freaking fantastic. Yeah. This movie is a freaking gem. Like I said, I already dropped my review. I was honestly very curious what my opinion of this was going to be. And if I remember right, now Matt has never seen it, correct?
Yep.
This is his first viewing. Chris, you had seen it, though, right?
Yeah.
Probably with me at some point, I'm assuming. But this was one of those that I loved back in the day. I had some friends. I don't know if Chris met any of these people back in the day, but that were like hardcore, legit punks, like some of the guys in this movie. One of those people actually gave me this on DVD and was just like at school and was like, you got to watch this, because he knew I was big into movies. He was actually the guy that showed me Boondock Saints as well. It was like multiple movies like this. It was like they'd come up in conversation and be like, you got to check this out, man. Here's my DVD. You can watch it. Just make sure you give my DVD back, kind of a situation. And so this was one of those, and it blew my mind. And I was about 7 or so years late, maybe 6 to the film's actual release. And this stars Matthew Lillard, who most people know as Shaggy from the Scooby-Doo film.
So wild.
Yeah. And he's a vibe, man. He's in this.
Dude, he is a freaking gem.
He is. And so as the only other really like serious recognizable people, one of which I totally forgot, and I don't even think I knew it was him back when we watched it, is freaking Jason Segel.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. This is like
completely forgot that he was in.
Had no idea. I did not know it was him. He wasn't famous then.
Well, that's the thing, is he's really not even that famous now. Not really, if you really think about it. If you didn't watch How I Met Your Mother, and the one other movie that I can think of was I Love You, Man.
Well, he did I Love You, Man, and he did the one with
he did like 2 rom-coms. But other than that,
he's got Shrinking out now, which is an Apple TV show that's doing really well. But he is more of, like you said, he's he's interesting because he's part of that community of like Seth Rogen and all those comedians, and he came up with all those guys, but he's kind of taken his own trajectory. He's at an interesting go of it, which now he's got a show with freaking Harrison Ford. So, and they're on like going on season 3.
Yeah. So, he's doing well.
Right. He's doing well now, and good on him. He's in this, and also Devon Sewa, which at the time had become famous actually for the Final Fantasy movies. So we talked about him recently as well. He was in the very first Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, Final Destination. Sorry, not Final Fantasy. Final Destination. He's the guy from the first Final Destination film. And then also we had the father figure in the film, which is Christopher McDonald, which you might recognize. Those are going to be the most recognizable figures. And then some other people kind of pop in and out. But this movie's wild. I'm really interested to hear everybody's thoughts. So far, it is doing very well in Criticless, but we still haven't reached 10 scores. Now, which means that we don't have our official score. And it doesn't say it on Criticless because they've yet to add Tubi and some of the cheap sites to our where to watch, and we might be pulling that data from somewhere else down the road. We'll see what happens with that. But so it is streaming currently on Tubi for free. This movie used to be very hard to find without paying for it. So if you want to watch it now, it is free on Tubi, so you can check it out, or you can sail the 7 seas, because I highly doubt anybody involved with this film is seeing any money from it at this point. So you know, not a lot of love lost there with that situation. So I am curious about you guys. I will go ahead and say, like I've mentioned, my review is in Criticless. I gave it a 93%. It's a high score, and we actually have multiple other people who I will be calling out their reviews soon here. But we are 2 reviews away from having an official score. So at the very least, if you guys review it, Chris hasn't done a review in about 1 million years. He has been called out. But yeah,
I haven't seen it. If somebody's called me out, not seen it.
So but so I want to know y'all's thoughts, I guess. First, let me get Chris, since he's seen it, and this was a return down memory lane here, if you will. What'd you think, man?
It was a surprise to me. Like, because I was 100% on board with the punk scene as a teen. In high school years, that's what I identified as. I was on board with it. So rewatching this movie, it's funny to see the message that gets portrayed in this,
right,
and why I enjoyed it so much. I mean, I guess I just don't remember that part of it.
You're talking about like the end message? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about
the whole message of the movie?
Right. This
growth essentially is what it is about.
And that is an interesting thing about this film. We're going to try and navigate it in the spoiler-free section. I mentioned it in my review without us getting too deep into spoilers, but it is far more intelligent and calculated than I think it has any right to be. And I think that might be what Chris is getting at here with actually its overall message, and even us liking it as kids, is that it's actually a very mature message by the end of it, even though it is about the punk movement.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially, well, I guess I won't say that, but yeah, so
like you said, it's a film about growth.
It's a film about growth, and so that's kind of surprising to me as to why I enjoyed it so much. I mean, it's a good movie, and I mean, I'm going to give it probably an 88. So I really enjoy it.
And that's really high for you.
It's high. It's a classic. It hits all the right points. It's just, you know, there's no negatives here. It's just really was surprising to me going back to it, because I don't think I've seen it since, because I have it on DVD. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But I haven't seen it since I was a teenager. I'm pretty sure. Like, so, you know, going back to it now, it's crazy to see the details that go into it.
Because you were about to say nuance, because there is a lot of nuance.
There is a lot of nuance, but but the details and that's just the subject matter that is involved with it is a lot deeper than just punk. Like it's. That's why it was surprising to me, because it doesn't hit me as a punk movie. Like, I feel like somebody who is punk rock, that's hardcore into it, won't enjoy this movie.
Right.
And that's why I was surprised.
Because this isn't like a spoiler, but even like halfway through the movie, I think Matthew Lillard has a moment where he literally is talking about that, about like what is punk,
right,
and like what's not punk and what's poser. And so I think that's where like you start picking up on like what the message is trying to be during the movie.
Right.
And then maybe as a high schooler, I can see being like, yeah, it's so punk, and not getting the message. Because I feel like it's most high schoolers, you take what you want from the messaging of anything. And that could be like, oh, this is so punk. We go to shows, we like fight. Like I had a friend in high school who like poured chili beans on himself while he was like playing a bass guitar on stage because he was punk.
Right.
That was his form of being punk.
Everyone knows that when one is punk, they pour chili beans on their head.
Oh, and it was like at a church. And they were like, they didn't know, he didn't know they didn't know he was in a punk band.
Okay.
And they were like performing. It was like a battle of the bands kind of deal.
Right.
They thought it was just gonna be like Christian bands and stuff. And he gets up there like,
dude,
and just wild out, and they didn't know what to do about it because that was punk. I mean,
Right.
if you're talking about what is punk,
it's
that's punk.
it's chaos. You know, it's anarchy. It is. It's a lot of things, and we're going to get into that with this review. And actually, I was curious. Chris and I actually went to a crazy punk concert when we were on senior week at the beach. Do you remember that concert, Chris?
Yeah.
It was to see the Misfits.
Right.
And that was one of the more rowdy shows I've ever. It was the Misfits, right? I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, but it was somebody else. I feel like the headliner was somebody else.
There were a couple bands,
But
but it
something
was
sex was in the name. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the Sex Pistols. But it was
No.
like
the Sex Slaves.
Sex Slaves.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the Sex Slaves, but the Misfits were the main show, but the Sex Slaves were actually really good. We bought their album and all that stuff. But no, I wonder if they're still a thing. I totally forgot about them. Holy shit. But
And if I can be completely honest,
yes,
I actually didn't go to that show with you.
You didn't go?
I hung out with two bitches.
Oh, that's right. You were with the girls.
I did go with the girls.
Oh, you skipped out on a show.
God, that is so typical Chris.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
so gay. I had to hang out with
He's
the
so gay.
vaginas.
He went
Well,
hung
it's
out with
only gay if you didn't get any.
He didn't.
No, I didn't.
So,
no, I didn't.
So we went to see the Misfits. It was one of the craziest shows that I've ever been to, and the irony of it very much connects to this movie, which is this movie talks about rednecks and how rednecks are the enemy of punks, which is very true and was very much part of our childhood and our like punk essence of us when we were kids, because we fucking hated the rednecks and we live in the South. And it's very funny with how we've embraced our Southern roots at this point, because back then, like, if there was anybody you hated, it was fucking rednecks. You hated
because they were all shitheads.
The teen rednecks were shitheads.
Yeah.
They were the absolute worst. But the funny thing was, at this Misfits show, we decided to bring one of the most redneck human beings that I know, this guy named Marshall, who we actually talked about on the last show. He had never been to a punk show, didn't know the vibe, didn't know the deal. They started getting super rowdy. There were tons of fights at the show. They ended up doing a circle pit. People were circling, and somebody. This was the moment that actually made me really happy that I brought a redneck with me. There was this just a bunch of shithead punks, and we weren't in the circle pit. We were on the outside of it, and someone came by and punched the shit out of me.
Yeah.
They came back around, and the redneck that we brought decided to beat the dog shit out of this dude for hitting me. And then we ran away and left.
So he pulled what happened in this movie.
Exactly.
Literally.
No, yes, literally at this Misfits show. And he was wearing like freaking cowboy boots and like was just ready to throw fists.
Yeah.
Which was really funny.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah, it was, to bring up redneck to a punk show. And it ended up being a very funny thing. We literally had to leave because it got so rowdy.
Nice.
It was really funny. But so anyways, that's one of my little ghost stories. But this movie, if that does give any credence to us being around a lot of this lifestyle and these types of folks, we knew a lot of these types of people. And personal perspective, this movie hits the nail on the head with this type of person, this vibe, everything to do with punk. And I guess, Chris, you were kind of, I interjected in your kind of thoughts on it. But
no, I'm good. I'm curious to know, Matt, how did you like this movie?
Yeah. So what do you think, Matt? I like how Matt always wants to be super mysterious. He's like, so can you guess what I thought?
Because you guys always want to know.
I know, we are very curious because you're the wild card, man.
Wow.
There's
You know we want it. So you're just
right.
You're
and
edging us on.
You gotta like
that delayed gratification.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yes.
As I was watching this, I didn't quite love the continual over narration style,
like the monologue of
because
it,
it was just continuous.
Yeah, it's the majority of the movie.
Like, I want to say maybe 75% of the movie
for sure
is just narration.
Right.
Which at the time I was a little annoyed with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I do really like the punk scene, and the messaging of the movie I think is very interesting. And it was cool kind of seeing this like punk scene, because that doesn't really exist anymore. I don't think. Like
punk is dead.
Yeah.
It literally is, and it got fully co-opted by political activists. That's the easiest way to put it. If you see all this like ACAB bullshit and all that, like all of that has like co-opted the punk movement and taken it away from true anarchy and just made it like this weird subculture of the radical left, and it's lame as shit. Like it's dead.
You're also not going to see punk online.
Yeah,
like,
right.
If you're on
Very
social
true
media, you're not punk.
Yeah, you're right.
I hate to break it to
and
you.
that's the thing. And that's another thing.
You're a fucking
punk,
poser.
Exactly.
Right. So punk could exist,
Right.
but it would be super underground,
Right.
and you'd know it because you'd see it,
Right.
not because they're posting on social media and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah. So, anyways, it's really cool seeing that era.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And then, so by the time the movie was over, I think I was sitting in a rat.
Okay.
Just because I was kind of annoyed with the narration style.
Sure.
Right.
But as I've thought about it more, now I'm a low most excellent.
Okay.
I liked the
Nice.
message, and
Yeah.
this is almost a movie you have to see twice, or you have to pause and think about, because Matthew Lillard's talking so much,
Right.
and it's so continuous.
Yeah.
He's constantly dropping these like
just
like
truth
thought
bombs.
bombs.
Right.
Where he's just like, this is my thought on something. It's really
Yeah.
deep and intense. And now we're switching over here. I'm going to talk about something else
Right.
on the spot, or I need to pay attention. So it's one of those movies where
Yeah.
it's hard to get in on one go.
It really is.
You
Honestly.
can't just have it on in the background
No.
doing laundry. This
Right.
is something
You watch.
you need to watch.
Yeah.
And it's a tight 130.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like.
Oh, it's a tight film. Yeah, it's an hour and 30 minutes, like you said, and like it is perfectly timed.
Right.
It does not overstay its welcome at any point. And I'm glad you warmed up to it, especially the more that you think on it. Which and Matt's wife, Wine Fiend, she dropped her review, gave it a 95%. Like
hell yeah.
That friggin', I was like, hell yeah, because I've been talking about this movie for fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird things where, and I brought that up in my review, where it's like I've been talking about this movie for ages as one of the best indie movies, and I'm just like, this movie freaking slaps. It's a banger. Like it's not trying to do anything overly complex or crazy. It's not a bunch of CGI. It's not having any tricks. It is just a concise story.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's all real. Like you
Right.
said, there's no CGI in this movie.
No.
This is all just
literally
how
not.
it is. And you can tell there's shaky camera work. You can tell this was somebody with a camera just doing their thing.
Okay.
You're right.
There was one great screen shot. There was one green screen shot.
There
Yep.
was.
Oh, with the
It's not
bombs.
CG. No. With in the booth, where it's a weird thing where he's narrating, but it takes him in the booth and like kind of scoots him out, like where he's talking about where he's like describing all his friends. It's like that portion of it.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing. Obviously, I have no qualms with it. It's not like bad CG. It's just literally it's green screen where they like cut him out of it. Anyways,
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that did happen a couple times, because I forgot about the one with like the bomb and all that. So I mean, it was used, but it was used very sparingly and was with intent, not just because we could. It was, hey, we want to make this special. So this is also like literally, like I said, like I almost want to watch this again.
Do it
so I can pick up and actually pay attention to everything he's saying again.
Yeah.
So I can really follow, especially now that I know the whole story. It's kind of like Fight Club, where it's like you watch and you're paying attention, you're trying to follow along, you're like, aha moments. This is kind of like this movie.
Just tons of nuggets.
But
actually, Fight Club is a very good comparison as far as what this movie does and is trying to say, and is trying to say about culture, and is trying to say about certain mindsets and ideologies and personality types. Yeah, like it says a lot in a fairly short amount of time.
Yeah, very short amount of time.
And I'm just, so we're all most excellence. I think we're pretty united here. And I think currently it's definitely most excellent as well. So I'll pull up Criticless here. We do have 8 reviews, like I said. So we don't have an official score yet, but for the users, I've been talking about this with her for a while as well. She gave it a 92%. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Love it.
Really glad she enjoyed it. Wine Fiend, like I said, she gave it a 95%. This was her first viewing as well. Dropped it with a Rancid video, which obviously perfect. Rancid was one of the few bands at the time also that were a lot more close to actual punk than a lot of the other bands that were out at the time. JJ Happenstance gave it a 92%. We've got a 90% by Last House Chick. Now, these are a little older reviews. Normie gave it a 77%. Actually saw me chatting about it in our group and watched it back in March, because we were talking about doing this a while back, but it never got voted for. Ninja Waiter, he is extraordinarily picky. This guy does not give most excellence, especially 90% and above. It is extremely rare, and he gave this a 93%. We've had conversations about it, and he talks about how this movie is just like excellent. And then also we had a TWB Film who gave it a 75%. So so far everybody is really liking it, and the people that are coming to it new have given it really high scores. So everybody in the chat who has not seen this yet, if that gives you any direction as far as this film goes, now it is varying tones, because as we mentioned, this is more billed as a comedy first, and it spends a lot of its time kind of being a comedy. This movie is very funny. Even though it is a drama, it's kind of a dramedy for the first 3 quarters. Chris is kind of processing, trying to decide.
Dramedy is a better way to put it. I would not put comedy first.
But
continue.
there was like some moments where I was like, haha, but not like
super funny.
It's not
right.
super funny. It's not Euro Trip.
Intentionally, it's not intentionally comedy.
Right.
I think it's
not going for like
is
it's like
there's just funny parts. That's where I think dramedy comes.
Right. And I
drama
think as well, knowing these types of people and knowing some of these different like micro cultures even at the time, and coming up through it, because it's talking about, you know, the mods and the punks and the preps and the whatever, you name all the different types, it hits on all of those, and a lot of the comedy comes from that, and the behavior of some of these punk people, where if you knew people like this and people dealing drugs and people that were into anarchy and all this shit, if you knew these people, you will get some extra levels of comedy out of this. Just because you see it. Like, you're like, I know these people. I've seen this shit in real life, and it's on the screen, and that's what makes it funny.
It was relatable.
It is relatable. And the weird thing is, I don't know how relatable it is now, but that doesn't necessarily matter. Even though punk is dead, it is one of those things where the end message and where this movie is going is relatable. And I put in my review that I think that any kind of rebellious teen
100%
should watch this film.
100%
should absolutely watch this. In the film, the little clip that I showed earlier is kind of spot on for where this film is headed. And the fact of, you know, I didn't I bought in, or whatever, you know, I didn't sell out, I bought in. And the overall message, without spoiling a lot of it, is about how, you know, that this lifestyle is very hard to sustain. And as I put in my review, if you're an adult and you're a real punk, you're either a complete idiot or you're dead.
Yeah, by idiot you may mean like a hobo.
A hobo, yes.
Yeah.
You're a hobo or you're dead.
Right.
And we knew actually some other people, 2 people that we worked with for a year or so. At when we worked at Sonic, and I know that one of them, he was a hardcore punk. I know that he is not alive anymore.
Oh yeah, no, and he murdered somebody for sure.
Oh yeah, everyone knew.
100%.
He killed people, or a person.
At least.
At least. We heard some crazy things. He tried to get Chris and I to steal the Wienermobile when it was in town. So that happened. True story. He really wanted to steal the Wienermobile. He was very excited. He was leaving work, and we had to convince him not to leave work to steal the Wienermobile. So
cool dude though. Great guy.
Sounds like the drug dealer in this. Cool guy. Cool.
No, exactly. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Because that is the interesting thing. Like that one punk guy I know, dead currently.
He
died a long time ago.
Dead.
Currently dead.
He might be back.
We'll see.
We'll see if he plays out to be Punk Jesus.
Punk Jesus. Great guy, but like,
hell yeah.
Currently dead.
He's been dead for like at least a decade at this point. So like you're saying, like if you're punk, if you're true punk,
right,
like,
you're not gonna live.
You either grow out of it or you don't live. Because it's not sustainable.
No, it's not a sustainable lifestyle. Now, granted, this movie also surrounds a lot about anarchy and the discussion around anarchy, and that was actually some of the discussions happening underneath my review with people like For the Users and JJ Happenstance and some of the other people. And the interesting thing here is that there is still a very current anarchy movement, but it's not connected to the punk scene. And it's not connected to this type of anarchy. That's the thing, is a lot of people think anarchy and they think punks. Those don't have to be synonymous.
Right.
Like, the thing is you can have anarchy without having constant chaotic violence, which is the problem with the punk movement and a lot of what this movie is about.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, it is a problem, but it's also the root of it. So it's how you determine it. So I feel like punks are purists whenever it comes to chaos, because it is anarchy to its purest, which is what he struggles with in this movie, is that, you know, at some point, a lot of these branches, I think, of punk or anarchism is a controlled version of chaos, which is not pure punk. Pure punk is just chaos 100%, which is not sustainable. They talk about this. Anyways, we can get into that into the spoilers, but like pure anarchism or pure chaos doesn't exist in a functional state. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. And that's where, like, you can't have the same punk structure that you have in these other, what you're talking about, things that are anarchist based, because there still has to be structure involved to a certain degree. They hate to admit it,
they do.
But there has to be some sort of structure involved with it. And that's
and if you are curious about the anarchist movement and anything that's going on with that, and you feel like it's just got a lot of negative connotations to it, I would reference Michael Malice. He wrote a book called The Anarchist Handbook. Don't get it confused with the cookbook, not the cookbook.
I downloaded that off LimeWire when I was 12 years old.
Now you know how to make napalm.
I sure did.
So, but yes, not the cookbook, the handbook written by Michael Malice. He's actually a friend of Rogan and close friends with Roseanne. But he's
with 2 R's.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. He is a modern, like, realistic anarchist that can give you a perspective on this ideology and this movement that is separate from the punk stuff, because the punk stuff even still kind of tarnished it. So just with that little nugget, do with it what you will. And there are other people as well, which has happened in chats under my review as well, if you want to go check those out. But it is, this whole thing is very interesting. And even just in the current context, and us kind of joking about or talking about, like, punk being dead, is like Matt said, is you don't see these people anymore. And really, we've lost these segmented cultures of, like, types of people. Yeah, you get your, like, country folks, or you get your preppy folks or whatever. But, like, even when we were growing up, these communities were very segregated. And it's like the punks really only fucked with, like, certain types of people. And same for the preppy people and whatever. And sometimes with one that floated,
and there's this guy, and he goes between all the groups somehow.
Right, exactly. And Jason Segel's character, where they were like, he's punk as shit, and he looked like the nerdiest dude you'd ever seen from, like, the 50s or something.
And he was 17, 18. I think he transitioned between those 2 years during the movie, but and where they had all graduated college. No spoilers, but
So they cover all different segments of people. It is so fascinating and interesting. I highly recommend this movie. We all are giving it most excellent. That tends to be everything that's come through the app so far. If you want to catch it while it's free, like I said, it's on Tubi. This is a very expertly crafted film by an indie director, like by a just someone who hadn't had a lot of experience. And actually, I did want to pull it up here. So James Marindino, this guy had not done much before, but I will say one of the things that he was attached to that I highly recommend, which is taking forever to load for some reason, is Dirk Gently, which for some reason I'm not seeing on here, but he was attached to Dirk Gently as well. But he did a second sequel to this movie. Do not see it. Everyone has said it's terrible. It was in 2016. This movie has no reason for having a sequel. I don't know why he let them talk him into this. It shouldn't have happened.
I saw, like, the premise yesterday, because it's on Tubi also. And it was like the son of one of the characters 15 years later going through his own punk phase. I was like, okay.
And it stars MGK. Oh,
does it?
He's in it. Yeah.
Huh. Weird.
So, but yes, this movie didn't need a sequel. Doesn't have any business having that. It is tied up with a little bow in a very perfect way. I think that every facet of this movie is excellent. It is not necessarily perfect, but like whatever. Do we have any
think-
serious qualms outside of what Matt said as far as the
No, not really.
narration?
For what it's meant to do, I think it does it perfectly.
Yes,
like
I
honestly,
agree.
I would say that it is perfect for what it's intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Exactly.
it's not a perfect movie,
Right. Like it's
Like-
not 100% movie, but it's perfect for what it is and what it does.
Yeah. What it's intended to do and the message that it's portraying, it does it as well as it has been done.
Right.
I can't think of another movie that does it better.
No, which is just following punks in the 80s and their life and what
Yeah.
it's like to
Yeah.
be in this lifestyle. And that's really what it is. There's no real easy way. It's just a day in the life of these people.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to go into much more detail without totally spoiling certain aspects of it. They're just going to parties and concerts and living their day-to-day life and dealing with drug dealers and dealing with fights and all kinds of crazy shit. Because that's the thing, is the people in these worlds, they deal in chaos and anarchy, and that's very much what this movie is about.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah.
And just chaos.
Ba-doom-cha.
Yeah.
Just as much chaos as they can.
Right. And so now we're going to get into the spoiler section. Like I said, this is an older movie. We're just going to get into the nitty gritty, I guess, but maybe not even too deep. I don't know. But we'll talk about this movie a bit more and flesh it out for you guys that have seen it or aren't really concerned about spoilers. Because honestly, I think that this film is about the ride and the spoilers don't necessarily deeply hurt it.
Yeah.
There's not really spoilers. It's a story that's told, and it's told very well. So there's not really any spoilers. It's not like, this person's actually Superman. It's not that kind of a spoiler situation. It's just of at what point of the story you want to join in on, and it's really kind of a spoiler situation.
Right, because it's just life.
Yeah.
So, all right, Matt, go ahead and give us a click on the spoiler. And I am going to stick you guys with these two for just a moment because I am going to pee my pants. I'm going to let y'all talk about some spoilers real quick.
Yeah.
I gotta pee as well.
Oh, well,
But
me
it's
pee
fine.
first.
You want us to cross streams?
No, that makes your wiener explode. That's what my dad told me when I was a kid. He ever peed with a friend.
Mine's already exploded, so it's fine.
Happens to me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, and like I was kind of talking about in the spoiler free, is this movie is very philosophical.
Yeah.
But it's hard to like follow the philosophy. For me anyways, I'm pretty dense. When it comes to things like this and lyrics.
Okay.
I have to like read the lyrics for songs.
Yeah.
While I'm listening to them to like fully grasp what they're talking about.
Sure.
And I realized this when I was young because I would sing a song like a million times and be like, what am I talking about? I don't even know what I'm talking about. And then I read the lyrics and go, oh, I had no idea this song was about this. So this is one of those movies where I feel like it's so much philosophy being thrown at you.
For
You
sure.
have punk philosophy, but then you have Matthew Lillard changing his mind.
Yeah.
Like one of the favorite, and I remember, so I have a patch jacket that I made 2 years ago. And I remember putting it together being like, man, I have to go buy patches. I had to go buy a jacket. I had to learn how to sew to get my patches on there.
Mhm.
And then I was thinking about like the old leather jackets with all the studs and stuff, which he wears on this.
Yeah.
They had to buy all that.
Right.
Punk was expensive, especially old punk. You were wearing like biker jackets and stuff, and then the studs, like, they were like, this will look good, but we also had to go buy all that. It's all capitalism, which happens. That was one of my favorite lines. I can't remember it directly,
but
where Liz is later in
It's
the
at the
movie, but
very
she's just
end.
like,
Yeah.
it seems like punk is all about spending money to look different. And I was like, hot damn.
It's a fashion statement.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's just that punk is a fashion statement and you have to be willing to spend money on it.
Right.
To then be like, hey, we're against the grain because we dye our hair blue and we bought all the stuff for our cool jackets.
Right.
And that's Matthew Lillard's like outfits the whole time. I know he was wealthy, but like, you could tell he was wealthy.
But
Well, yeah, but he was wealthy to his family.
Right.
So I think that's super interesting when you're talking about this movie because he is wealthy, where his friend is not.
Yeah.
Bob's not wealthy at all.
Yeah.
And so and you can tell Bob, and that's like my friend in high school, like he wasn't really wealthy. His parents were like, his mom was like a teacher or something.
Yeah.
And that's why like part of the reason it was funny when he was
very rich profession.
Right. But that's what was funny when he was rebelling, because he would just wear totally normal clothes. He didn't do anything crazy with his hair.
Yeah.
He just didn't give a shit about what anybody thought
Right.
about him. He would curse teachers to their face.
Yeah.
Like, he was the essence of punk
Right.
at that time. He's like literally the only person I would say like I thought was like essence of punk.
Yeah.
And then you have this movie where Bob's essence of punk.
Yep.
And Matthew Lillard is sort of, but he's also just a philosophical high school or like 20-year-old.
Right.
So
yeah, and he, admitted that at the end that
Right.
it was all Bob that led him down this route. That
Right.
he was just following along with Bob because Bob was the one who, didn't want to listen to the Smiths or whatever it was band that they were listening to when they were playing.
But right, it was like
Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. Who was? Oh, it was.
One of them was like John Denver. They had offered.
Right.
to
It was
play
like bands like
Rush.
Journey and stuff. It was
It was
Rush.
like
Rush was the band. Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a great encapsulation of just how you are as a teenager, which is why I was surprised that I enjoyed it as a teenager. Maybe
Right.
I'm giving myself credit here and saying that I was awoken in this sense of understanding that, yeah, the way that I'm acting during these ages, isn't going to last forever. I still, I'm going to say that I don't think that I was that smart or
No,
bright,
I think we were. I brought that up in my review is that was one of the things is that we were young and like Chris and I very much did gravitate towards this scene.
Yeah.
And but we kind of still kept it at arm's length. Like we knew some of these people where it's like we knew a dude that tried to get us to steal the Wienermobile. True story. His girlfriend was nuts too. They were both crazy. Like they wanted to wrap us up in all kinds of crazy shit. We kept it at arm's length.
Right.
And I think that that's the thing is that there's a good chance that even seeing this back then actually gave us some perspective that we don't really remember or think much about now. Like it was probably a good thing that we saw this movie to be like, hey, like this is a cool
Yes, Rosario. Sorry.
Yes, it was Rosario. My wife brought that up. That was the chick. Yeah, she was, yeah, that's the chick. She's probably still alive, but Kyle Scamardo is definitely not.
Yeah. We'll just throw his name. We will dox him.
Y'all are calling people names and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's whatever. Like, hey, rest in peace.
It doesn't matter.
Rest in peace. They were cool people. That's the thing. They were cool people. And that's the thing is like 100%. One of the guys that I knew that was part of the scene, like years later, I ran into him and he was like a chef at I'll say a cook at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's like there are people who move on from this movement and there are people that don't.
Right.
And that's really what this movie is about is like, are you going to decide to grow up?
Yeah.
Are
you going to, and I put the quote in my review, which I think it's one of the last quotes in the movie. And it's that he basically says like, you can do a hell of a lot more damage inside the system than you can outside of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the last lines in the film. And it hits so hard. And it's so very, very true.
And that's why I work for the
tax man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting perspective for this film because it is very much about being a punk. It encapsulates everything about it, and then it's a full rug pull. And they're like, but this shit's kind of dumb. And at the end of the day, you'll probably either end up being a poser or you're dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so funny because they were like, you're posers. Like you're a poser. Everybody's a poser.
Right.
At something at some point because they believe in it. And then they realize at some point that it's not who they are anymore. And that's dumb. And they move along. Yeah. And it's just it's the life cycle of like a teenager. But that's what I found so interesting in this movie was that the Matthew Lillard and his dad.
Yeah.
Because his dad like never freaked out on him.
Dude.
His dad was the most chill, like calm, like sexist, like dad. Like, but it was just like he's like, yeah, I was a punk once. No, I didn't sell out. I bought in, which is literally what Matthew Lillard takes away from it in the end.
Right.
Like
his dad was just a hippie. He's a punk. He's just like, hey, I've done this. I've been that. And that's the kind of thing as you watch it and you're like, depending on the type of person you are, it's like you watch this dad and you're like, that's the kind of dad that I hope I am.
Right.
Where it's like, I accept my kid. I'm like, bro, rebel. Like, do your thing where it's like, for me, like my dad was not cool with my rebellion and it made me rebel 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Every time he told me not to get a piercing, I got another fucking piercing. Every time he told me not to get a tattoo, I got another tattoo. Every time, like, it didn't matter. And I'm just like, you're doing this to yourself at this point.
Right.
Like, just don't be so fucking stupid and tell me the truth. Be realistic. And that's what I like about this movie is that it has parents that are realistic and they're like, you're being a stupid kid. Hopefully you don't die before you figure your shit out.
To me, it's just from personal experience, it's not a realistic parent. Like that's the ideal parent.
Right.
Like the parents in this, his parents are dope as fuck.
Yeah.
They're like,
I guess that's a better way to put it.
Obviously his dad is like pointing him in the direction to be successful. His mom is like free spirit, do whatever, like we love you fucking no matter what.
Right.
But like in my experience, it was like, don't do this. Like it was hard stops, you know. It was just like you're going down a wrong path, which is still beneficial. Like it's still a role of the parent to try and guide your children to do what you think is in their best interest.
Right.
And so no shade to my parents. They're doing the best they could, but it was completely the opposite of these parents. It was the like, you're grounded because you want to do this, or you need to cut your hair. You have to cut your hair. Like you're not going out. You're grounded if you keep it this way. So to me, it wasn't a realistic in my realism, my world of growing up, but it is the ideal for for growing up. Like I wanted my parents to be like, we accept you the way you are. We want you to succeed. We want to give you all these opportunities. We love who you are. Keep doing who you are. But we want you to go this path.
Right.
Like if my parents had done that, I have no idea how I would have. I haven't turned out terrible. I don't think I haven't killed anybody. So, but
there you go.
I can't imagine like having that kind of input into my life, like from a parental position.
That's what's interesting about this movie, because we have Matthew Lillard and Bob, and they have two very different kind of parents. They both have led kind of to the same spot, but as you can see, Matthew Lillard is a poser.
Yeah.
He's a hardcore believer until he's not. He's a poser once he changes his philosophical beliefs. Whereas Bob was all about it, but his dad was deranged.
Yeah.
And his mom was scared of him. So it's one of those things where I feel like this movie shows us two very different parents. That was one of the other moms.
Different person. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to his mom, but it's just very interesting because like you're saying, like most parents aren't either of these. Most parents try to put us on a course that they believe is the right course.
Right.
And they'll tell us not to do things like get piercings or tattoos or anything like that. Like, and it's just interesting because this movie is very extreme in its portrayal of everybody, but very relatable in the same way. Like the drag addict guy, the one who ends up homeless, we never hear from again.
Yeah, Devin Siwa's character.
Right.
Which was, his character was very interesting because he did do too many drugs. He melted his freaking brain.
Yeah.
We also have heard or know, most of us know somebody that type of shit happened to. And then he's homeless. And that was one of the biggest wake up calls for Matthew Lillard's character is he ran into an old homie that was just living the life, doing the thing. And then he's like, fuck, like this guy's crazy.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
I panhandle for fucking gas.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the only route forward. There's no other option. Like, he tried to get a job.
Yeah, he tried to get a job, sort of. But then he was so fried that he just just gave in being homeless.
Right. Yeah. And that's eventually what happens to these types of people.
Right.
Is it's like there are a few avenues, but none of them are very good. And I like that's where this movie about being a punk is really headed. That's the real message, and the purpose of it is to literally be like, you probably should grow up at some point. You can rebel. You can push back. You can have ideals. You can be different. You can think different. You can act different. But it's not about what you wear, and it's not about having the mohawk or just starting fights with people. It's not about this punk thing. Like, you can enjoy the music, but you don't have to just go out and have fights with people. It's not like. It's about a mindset and about this ideology of just you can stir shit while being a part of the system.
Yeah, it's about having focus.
Right.
Like, you can have focus and still have chaos. You can have focused chaos.
Right.
And that's where I was like, maybe that's what resonated with me so much, is like the part in the movie where he finds his fuck buddy, girlfriend, whatever, like having sex with somebody else, and he's like, yeah, we had an agreement, like it was fine, like she could, we didn't own anybody, like you couldn't own anybody, she wasn't mine, but he was still reacted to that because he had the emotional attachment. It's like so relatable to me. It was just like, you want to have or give somebody the freedom and be like cool and just be like, yeah, we're just whatever, it's
I'm chill,
fine. We are just together. But then those underlying like historical facts of just relationship and how you attach to people, it's like it's still there, like regardless of how hardcore you are about something, there's still certain things that your heart latches onto, or whatever you want to call it, and you can't fight it. Like, I mean, you're going to fight the person that fucked your bitch, but
which he did.
It's so relatable to me because I had been in that same mindset of just like, cool, like whatever, it doesn't matter. But it always seeped out of just like, I don't like this. Like, I want there to be a commitment. I want there to be a relationship, a trust, us to be one together.
Right. And that is the thing. There are so many of these moments that we watch Matthew Lillard's character go through that are so pivotal for him.
His name is Steve-O.
Yeah, Steve-O.
Just occurred to me.
Right. Yeah. So we see Steve-O go through these moments, and they're these pivotal life moments of these lessons that he learns, where it's meeting the old friend that's drugged out. It is, finding his girlfriend sleeping with somebody else. And it's like, it is all these things that put into question these ideals that he thought that he believed in. But then he realizes, like, that's maybe a little bit like lofty. It's a little ridiculous. Like,
and seeing his best friend get a girl. Like going against their bro code to a degree.
Or he's like getting a girlfriend's, it's being a poser. Like having a girlfriend, you're in love. That's being a poser. Like, and that is how these types of people are. Is it's like anytime that anything gets in their way, they're just like, you're a poser, you're whatever. Like, because it's all you can do to fight against things that you don't like when you're supposed to believe in anarchy. You're supposed to believe in chaos, but really at the end of the day, you like a little bit of order. And that's the thing that we've seen, where it's like, even, without getting overly political, where back in 2020, when we saw things get crazy and things got wild in like Portland and places, and they created like these little mini societies. And after like a week, all of them had somebody that was in charge.
Like, totally forgot about all that.
Remember all that? And they all were supposed to be about anarchy. They were all supposed to be, and every single time there was a hierarchy, there was somebody in charge, and it took less than a week almost every time.
That's what it's so funny. It's like, if you look at it from a scientific perspective, nature in general always defaults to structure in some point. You might not like that structure, but nature, as much as it seems like chaos, still folds into a pattern that equals structure. Like, there's always some kind of a hierarchy in something.
There's hierarchy everywhere. Humans like to fight against it to a degree, especially when we're teenagers. But we almost always fall back into hierarchy. And like the greater good and shit like that.
And it's just, there's so much stated in this movie. It's sometimes in very subtle ways, and they let you come to your own conclusions. And I think that's just so expertly handled for just this raw little indie movie. And it's just so impressive, and it does hit better now that I'm an adult. And I 100%. Feel like even back then, I think that it probably did make some level of an imprint on us to, or at the very least, subconsciously tell us, like, it's a good thing you're keeping these people at arm's length. Like you're making the right move. Like, this is going to send you down the wrong path.
Don't murder that person. It's okay. Like, just hang out a little bit.
Because that is how these types of people were. Is they just, like, somebody make me mad, they're like, hey, I believe in anarchy. Like, we'll deal with them. We'll solve this problem. And you're like, well, like, because and I put it in my review where it's like, the problem is that you can have all these ideals and these thoughts, but at the end of the day, you still live in a world which does have hierarchies. And you are going to become a target for people who think that they are your superior. And you will end up in jail, or you will end up shot, or whatever.
There's still consequences to your actions,
exactly,
no matter what.
Exactly. So, and I love that this movie kind of calls attention to that, while also still kind of lifting up the music and the movement and the ideas by just saying, hey, let's direct this in another area, which is so smart.
And I mean, I could talk about the subjects brought up in this movie for hours. Like, I love this ideology and the thought process behind this movie. Like, I think honestly 88 is probably a low score for me. I should probably bring it up for that, but just because
you can always do that if you ever write a review.
That's
true. I never will. But if I did, I'll put it just on verbal record here that it's probably more in like the 93, 95 range, just because it's so well done. And the points that they bring up, it's so on point. Like, thinking back to my teenage years and my mentality behind it, like, they encompass that perfectly. Like, and they talk through it. Like, and that's where I think, Matt, where you were kind of like, you need to be able to listen and process it and possibly watch it more than one time, because he runs through his thought process so well, but it's so quick where he's just like, you know, anarchy is about chaos, but if you're instituting chaos, like, this creates a certain order of its own,
which creating its own order. So then it's no longer orderless, which then makes it a structure of some sort. Yeah, that's why it's super interesting, and it's like you have to really pause after that, like, description, and be like, man, what did he just say? Because basically his summary was that there's always structure. And so chaos and anarchy are in its own way. And I think Sid said it in the chat, but it's like anarchy needs to be temporary as a way to disrupt. This is in addition to what she said, but like to disrupt what's regularly happening. And I think that's what they were trying to do. And then in the beginning, I think that's what he's talking about. He's like, we're anarchy because we live here in Salt Lake and there's nothing here and it's just boring and nothing. So we're bringing something here. But then by the end of the movie, he's like, I'm just leaving. I'm going to go do something else.
It's kind of an interesting thing too here, where it's like where we lived as well, where it's like our area and whatever, it was just a lot of like rednecks or just very like standard people. Our little niche community was pretty small, and the people that thought the way that we did, and so it does, with people with this rebellious spirit, it does kind of, areas like that do breed this type of thought, because you're just like, everybody's the same. All of these people are so boring. They don't think the way that I do. They don't believe the way that I do or think this way. Like, and it is so interesting that they were able to capture that by placing it in a place like Salt Lake City. And Chris and I got stuck there actually.
We did
just a year ago. So that our little experience, and it was hot as Satan's asshole.
We're asshole.
So hot.
They're close.
Miserably hot there, which is interesting because I think that they go through super cold or super hot.
Well, they have high elevations. It's it's not like us in the Piedmont where it's all 2,500 elevation pretty much across the board. So
but we have been there once for a very short period. But so I the setting, all of that was super cool. And actually, in honor of this episode, I did wear our very punk rock, our Obey shirts from Criticless. If you don't have one of these, definitely get one. The most basic form of mind control is repetition. And then at the bottom, I will go ahead
show them titties,
baby.
I'm not
sure on stream, it doesn't show it, but on the bottom it says, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes truth, but it's crossed out and says politics. So this shirt is very punk rock and was created by a very punk rock dude, actually, who is a good friend of ours and has done a lot of artwork within Criticless. And so definitely check out some of our merch. If you haven't, it's at shop.criticless.com, where you can find all of that. Our shirts are comfy, they look great, and they are screen printed locally, all that stuff. So it's all done on the up and up. But so this is a cool shirt. Definitely buy one. Everybody loves this shirt, and all the content to them because it doesn't say Criticless in giant letters. So
and capitalism takes supremacy.
That's right. That's right.
And money makes the world go round.
That's right. They don't like it when I say you can buy that one, you cheap son of a bitch. But that's how
the next reprint you didn't do that, just at the top Criticless,
right?
And then let that
put it underneath. I totally could. So anyways, yeah, this is this whole topic. It's like one of those things, and I put it in my review. My review could have been a massive essay. I could talk about this for days.
Yeah,
this movie has so much to chew on, but at the end of the day, it still is excellent writing, excellent performances. It's shot well. Like, it's just a tight film. It does pretty much everything right for what it is.
Yeah.
So highly recommend. Yeah. Definitely check it out. And I'm super glad that Matt enjoyed it for the first time as much as he did, and that Xena did, and for the users and everybody coming in. And if you're in the chat, like Chelsea, I think you said you hadn't seen it yet. Definitely watch this. It's so good.
Check it out.
And it's free right now on Tubi, so kind of why not?
And the thing is, I know we all have ties with punk. Even if you didn't have any ties to punk at all your whole life, it is very interesting to be like, to watch this and see that this is an actual lifestyle that did exist.
Right.
And then you can kind of see why it burns out for most people. And then they end up switching it up, like buying farms or things like that, and like settling down. It's very interesting slice of life about punk.
It also bleeds over into a lot of it really is relatable to any
subculture
tenant that you hold super dear.
Right.
I feel like it does a great job of questioning your stance on something.
I gotta interrupt you, bro.
Oh, all right.
Holy
JJ Happenstance is up in the hizzy with a $20.
Yo,
this was an episode of high interest for me. Thanks. No, thank you.
Yeah,
dude.
Thank you so much. That means a whole lot. We really appreciate it. Thanks, bro. I'm glad that this interested you. I know that this was one of those that was like a really obscure one that I was a little worried about, and it's why it's gotten pushed back, because people just don't know about it. They don't know what it is.
Right.
And I'm hoping that people stumble across this as time goes by, and that they kind of discover this episode, and some of our users and listeners see the reviews. I'm hoping that more people will review it within Criticless and call attention to it, just to be like, hey, check this out. And it does help that it's free right now, so that gets more people to see it. But we do really, really appreciate the 20 dude.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you so much. Every bit helps for sure. So thanks for that. And I'm glad you dug this convo. This is one of those, like I said, I could keep going for another like 2 hours. It's so fun.
That's where I would need to watch this again to continue my discussion on this, because I feel like or I would need to study a transcript of like Matthew Lillard's discussion, just so I could like read through it and highlight. This is definitely like something where if it was a book form, I would probably read it. Because it could easily make a great book.
This would make a great book. It does feel like
novella
would have been a book of some sort.
Yeah.
It's just so cool, and it captures all of it so great. I mean, we didn't even get to, it's like there's like the Russian dude that's the drug dealer.
Yeah.
That his character is so interesting, but it is so much a type of person.
Yeah. Very relatable.
Yeah. I remember going to a sketchy weed deal or two with Chris back in the day, and just being like, what are we doing here?
The ones that were trying to sell us chinchillas.
Yeah, they did try to sell us chinchillas.
Yeah, weed and chinchillas. That was their market.
Yeah. And it's like one of those scenarios where you meet these types of people and you're like, I'll buy the chinchillas if you just let me leave.
Yeah.
I don't want to die.
Yeah. But it's funny because like we all have stories like that at some point in time, or not, even if you're not buying the drugs. Like I had a buddy freshman year in college, and he owed a drug dealer money.
Right.
And the drug dealer came to our dorm and was like parked outside of our dorm, and he was like, dude, will you come down with me just so like I'm not alone? And I did, and it was just it was one of those things where I felt this scene, and nothing crazy happened, but like he and I both went outside, and I could tell the drug dealer and had a couple buddies with him, and I could tell they were just like, it was a weird, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember being like, I'm like,
this could go
stressed out right now. Yeah, we're just like up in the freaking mountains where everyone's like hippies except for drug dealers. And so it's just like one of like, I feel like most people have those kind of like scenarios.
Yep. And that's like Twisted Reality pointed out. It's like that moment when you realize, you look around, you're like, how the hell did I end up in this position? Or end up here? Where like I was just trying to get some weed because it was illegal, and so y'all forced me into these sketchy situations because all I just wanted was some weed. And then you get it and you're like, who knows what's in this? I'm like, what is this, the wacky tobacco? Like,
how laced is this?
How, like what's in this? And so, yeah, it's just all these types of scenarios can just go so sideways. And this movie calls a lot of attention to that. He's like, the Russian dude's like shooting holes in a couch, and then all of a sudden they're stealing a car. They're trying to sink it in the Salt Lake, and it's floating, and he's shooting at it. Like, all of these things are so real and so funny. And like, even what's his face, Jason Segel, where he's like at the point where he's like, one night he just gets so trashed that he decides that none of the cars in the neighborhood need windows, and he's just like bashing them all out and fighting the cops. And it's just these little micro stories where if you're in any of these rowdy communities, you do hear these weird stories about people. And everyone even if they're not punks or whatever, you just like hear these stories from parties or whatever with these young people just being rowdy and at the end
just lashing out in general.
Right.
Like, just however they want to do it.
Right.
Trying to disrupt the system.
Yeah.
And you can't hate them for it.
Yeah. And I think there's something very honest and very real about that. And it's another reason why I like this.
Yeah.
So it's just an awesome ass movie. Highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. So yeah.
Let's leave that one up.
Yeah. Xena talking about having stripper poles and his dad showing him dance on the stripper pole. That is wild. Xena. Yeah. People in these types of scenarios, crazy stuff happens, man. Nobody wants to see a dad on a stripper pole,
No. I mean, speak for yourself, Blaine. Look, I want to see Daddy dance on that stripper pole. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess it depends on which dad. You know what
Right. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
People are wild. People are wild. But yeah, so check out this movie and let us know your thoughts. More importantly, on Criticless, give us a review. And I want to see more and more reviews come through for this movie because it's a fun one, and I'm glad we finally got to talk about it. So this one is down in the archives for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for today's episode. Outside of our send-off songs, I feel like now I should pivot to doing a punk song. But actually, I know exactly what song I'll do because it was a favorite of mine back in the day because it was so funny. You want me to go ahead and do mine?
Sure.
It's popped into my head.
Sure.
There's a song. I hope you can find it. I should honestly look. I had a Ramones album, and it had a lot of obscure songs on it. And there's a song that the Ramones did at one point that was called "Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue." And if that doesn't really encapsulate the punk movement and just how kind of obscure and weird, it's definitely on Spotify. It's the Ramones. Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue. It was one of these things like me and a buddy of mine used to listen to it in the car and sing it at the top of our lungs going home from school. Because it was so stupid. And the Ramones are great, and everybody knows Blitzkrieg Bop, but like they had tons of other songs.
Yeah.
And so, but honestly, I think the Ramones kind of were my favorite. But I really, man, there were some other bands that I liked a good bit too. The Sex Pistols were decent, but they weren't my favorite actually. I tended to like more of the US stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, that
sounds like you would fit straight in with this movie then.
Yeah.
Right, for sure. So what do you guys got?
Chris, I'll let you next.
I'm going to do something by a band artist named MS Paint.
Okay.
Great name. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And the song is called Drift.
Okay.
It's got real strong Rage Against the Machines vibes.
Oh, nice.
Like angry singing kind of situation.
Right.
But the like underlying song is very Rush feeling. So if you like have a Rush track with Rage Against the Machines singing over it. That's kind of the vibes.
Talk about bands that sold out. Freaking Rage Against the Machine.
Oh,
they are just part of the machine.
Wow.
Those guys,
everybody does.
They sold out hard. They suck. Which is really funny. Everybody turned against. I don't know if y'all remember this back in 2020 when we talk about the Summer of Love, like we were earlier. Very notorious and very famous punk Johnny Rotten back then was in I think it was in New York or somewhere. He was in a city and basically pissed off everybody during all of that because everything was super heightened in 2020 and decided to stick his head out a window wearing a MAGA hat as a giant fuck you to everyone. Because what's more punk rock than literally just pissing off the entire current punk scene? Because the current punk scene was very much identified as far left, and he was like, fuck y'all are crazy for identifying with this super communist bullshit, and literally just came out and wore like a MAGA hat as a fuck you, and it was pissed off a lot of people. All the news sites were reporting on it. It was very funny. So pour one out for Johnny Rotten just for pissing everybody off.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah.
All right. So for whatever reason, so we all know that maybe not. But Lil Wayne dropped a new album.
We do.
Yeah. I don't listen to Lil Wayne. But
not related to this at all.
But it did make me think about one of his songs that there was a cover of that I used to listen to, and it's just been stuck in my head. So I've listened to it a couple times this week because it's just been stuck in my head. But it's Lollipop by Framing Hanley. So it's I don't know, it's not punk, but it's just like about strippers and stuff, but it's
sucking dick.
Light rock. I don't even know what you'd consider that genre, but it's catchy. But it's because it's Lil Wayne's song, Lollipop, just covered. So
right. Nice.
It's a funny song. Speaking of funny songs.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We actually did have another punk song brought up, which is Pull My Strings, Scaviola. I didn't know that you were in the chat, but brought up a Dead Kennedys song. Dead Kennedys were another one too. Hadn't heard them in a long time. So yeah, there are a lot of great bands from that time. Honestly, and they were right on the edge of it too with like the Ramones and stuff. With the early punk was the Clash. I freaking love the Clash. They were so good. Which they were very early punk. They weren't as hardcore as some of the others as the movement progressed, because that was the problem with punk, was it just kept getting crazier and crazier.
Right. Well, yeah, because you have to push the boundary.
Right.
You gotta
Exactly.
be more punk than the last punk.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I never liked any of the punk bands.
Really?
Everybody you
None
guys
of
been
them.
talking about,
None of them?
never liked any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
I just thought they were all like mid, and their music wasn't that great. And everyone was like, "This is so hardcore." I'm like,
Well,
is it?
you liked metal. It was very
Well,
different.
that's the thing. Yeah, I was more of a metalhead, so that's where I was like, "This music isn't mine." And literally, like, not a single band you guys have talked about. I've been like, I listen to their music.
Damn. Not even the Clash, because they
Nope,
had
not the
like
Misfits, not Clash.
Damn.
Not like almost any of them. I mean, nowadays I listen to like pop punk.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, who doesn't nowadays listen to pop punk?
Right,
It's
right.
not punk,
Yeah.
like what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just and it's your vibe or not, because I mean, I will be the first to say that some music, even going back now, like some of this OG punk was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Like some of it is bad music, like, but it was
Right.
It was more about the vibe.
It was more about being there live, like in the concert that they were
Right.
at. Like that
Yeah.
music wasn't good, but you're there to thrash, you're there to
Right.
feel anger, and that's what's so awesome about live music. And I hate that I didn't get to see a lot of live music because my parents
Right.
were like, wouldn't allow me out of the house and shit like that.
Yeah.
Because most concerts are in the weekdays and shit, and so I couldn't see a lot of concerts until I was in college, and then I went off to Boone, up in the mountains, and it's like there weren't any punk shows. I went to a
Right.
handful because there was a small theater, and it was there for the vibe. Like you're there to
Right.
thrash, you're there to like
Yeah.
let out some anger and frustration. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily translate well to a record and listening to it on the radio at
Right.
home or whatever. So I think that's where like punk survives, and it's probably the best live.
Yeah.
Right. Yo, it absolutely is. For good and bad, like I said, because it typically erupted in fights or people being bloodied and mangled. Now, one other show that was quite rowdy that I went to, and I don't know if I don't think Chris went to this one. Did you go see Guar with me?
God no.
No.
Guar is hilarious.
Yeah. Now, Guar was metal. They weren't punk, but
they're
their shows had a very punk vibe to them. It was a lot of pretty heavy mosh pits and whatever.
This violence is more the
Violence,
vibe.
yeah. But I
that's
mean, they
involved.
came out on stage with like a giant prosthetic dick and like jizz all over everybody. Like it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Not my vibe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They're gross. They were like just these mutated, costumed.
Yeah, they all
figures.
have like pig masks, and
It was
it's
crazy.
like I'm sure they have
It's
a
gross out, blood, gore,
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah.
not the vibe I'm a part of.
Yeah, you literally have never put out a like heavy hard rock song like in our suggestion rotation and like 4 years now.
Right. And Masterpiece swooped in to throw out some stuff too, like Social Distortion. I didn't think about them either. They're another one. And so yeah, there were so many bands during the time. But like I said, some of it doesn't hold up great. But it's about that vibe. But anyways, guys, we've run over time. This has been a fun episode. I'm glad that we did this one. This was fun.
Yeah.
Glad that we've got people seeing it for the first time. As far as next
week.
Yeah, that's what you're about to bring up. Yeah. So next week is a bit complicated. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to handle it. The thought right now is that if there is a live show, it might be during the day on like Wednesday or something. I don't entirely, and it will probably be with just me, or maybe even I get somebody to call in, or I don't know, because basically all of us are going to be out of town. So on Thursday. So no Thursday night show next week, but there might be something happening. I just don't know exactly what yet.
Yeah.
So
we might just have to do a solo review.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The last one did really well besides
It
being
did.
copyright struck.
Yeah, I kept getting copyright struck on the solo video. So yeah, there might be a solo video. Yeah. I might still be able to do a live stream, but I just cannot guarantee anything at this point. So we'll see what happens next week. Anyways, guys, this has been real. It's been fun. Awesome. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Thank you for the super chats, everybody that chatted and all that. And just make sure to subscribe to the channel. Give us a like on the video. All of that. Highly encourage it because it does help the video a lot. And we want the algo to keep pushing us along, which these chats help a lot as well. So thanks, everybody. It's been great. It's been real and fun and all of that. And we will be back, later.
Later, y'all.
Peace.